It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Sam Abul Samad is here, my car guy from Wheel Bearings Podcast, and also Paris Martineau from The Information. I love her. And Owen Thomas from The Protocol. And we have so many things to talk about. The crash in Bitcoin, what's going on there? Elon Musk talks to Twitter's staff and does not encourage them. The Senate says it's USB-C for all. And finally, the White House rolls out a task force to eliminate online abuse. Well, it's about time. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 880, recorded Sunday, June 19th, 2022. Larry's Pantaloons. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Noom. Unlike other programs, Noom Weight uses a psychology-based approach to help people better understand their relationship with food and gives them the skills and knowledge they need to build long-lasting positive habits. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/twit. And by IT Pro TV. Give your team an engaging IT development platform to level up their skills. Volume discounts start at 5 seats. Go to itpro.tv/twit and make sure to mention Twit30 to your IT Pro TV account executive to get 30% off or more on a business plan. And by userway.org. Userway is the world's #1 accessibility solution, and it's committed to enabling the fundamental human right of digital accessibility for all. When you're ready to make your site compliant, deciding which solution to use is an easy choice to make. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. And by ZipRecruiter. Summer's packed with things to do, and you can enjoy them all because if you need to hire, ZipRecruiter can help. ZipRecruiter's technology finds great candidates, and you can invite them to apply. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth to everybody. It's great to see our panelists today. We're going to have some fun, I can tell. Paris Martineau is here from The Information. Hello, Paris.
Hello.
Wow.
Lovely to be here.
You look like the girl with the pearl earring. You got a new camera.
I did. I'm finally using my Canon, just normal photo shooting camera. I've realized you can just put it above your computer. And
it looks great.
You have a banging webcam.
And you've got sunlight coming in. This is a total Vermeer. It's beautiful. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're better lit than I am, unfortunately. And I'm in a studio. Also here, Owen Thomas. It's crazy, man. Owen Thomas. Hello, Owen, senior editor over there at Protocol. Good to see you again.
Hey, Leo. Good to see you.
Welcome. You're in the office, I think.
I am. I'm kind of having camera envy, though.
I know. What kind of Canon is it, Paris?
It's actually kind of an old Canon. It's an EOS Rebel T6.
Yeah, the Rebel. Yeah. Did your parents give that to you when you graduated from high school?
Yeah, I got it before I went abroad in college.
Yeah.
And it has been sitting in my closet for quite a few years now. And other day I was looking up webcams and I was like, man, I could just bring this out.
Yeah.
And it's prime.
And it's retro, just like the turntable behind you. So it's perfect.
Exactly.
A trip back in time with Paris Martineau.
Paris, is that one of those old Apple speakers?
It looks like it, doesn't it? Those crystal speakers.
What's it called?
It is. Those are the Apple.
A Harman Kardon.
Harman Kardons. Those tubes.
Yeah, they
like for the
look
20th
so cool.
anniversary Mac.
Sort of.
Yeah, it was for. They're technically computer speakers, but I think they look really cool. I wish there was a way to get it to focus on this.
Yeah, they're clear. Isn't that wild?
They're clear. It looks like one of those things that you would put your hand on and all the sparks come out. Kind of like one of those mad scientist things.
Yeah, a Tesla coil. It's the Tesla coil of speakers. Hey, we got Sam Abul Samad now. So his Comcast is back. Sam is also here. principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. He's the Wheel Bearings podcast, all about cars. He's my car guy on the Tech Guy Show. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Leo. Good to be back with you.
Did Comcast drop off?
Yeah, we're doing the pre-show there. All of a sudden, all you guys froze, and I went to check my network on my phone, and nothing. And I ran upstairs, and the cable modem lights were not showing the way they should be, so I had to restart everything.
Well, good. Restart worked. That's good. Okay.
Yeah, restarted the cable modem, restarted the network. Good. And now it's all good.
How many, show of hands, how many of you have Bitcoin here?
I don't, but I know someone close to me who did and lost an unfortunate amount of money on the recent crash.
I feel like it's a little schadenfreude, and I shouldn't feel good about anybody losing money, especially nowadays. But Bitcoin went below 20,000. It's actually gone back up a little bit. It actually got down to about 18,000 over the weekend. Holy cow.
Wow.
Holy cow.
And, the scary thing about this is that people who really should have known better got into this thing in a big way, and, a lot of them got burned.
That's why I shouldn't say, isn't... To me, it's like, Bitcoin went down. What a surprise. You should have known better. But I feel bad for people who, saw Matt Damon saying courage favors the brave. And they said, well, I'm going to be courageous and buy Bitcoin. And of course, if you hold stocks right now, your 401k is probably not doing too well either.
We don't look at that, Leo.
Yeah.
We don't look at the numbers when they go down.
That's right.
Only when they go up.
Just keep pumping the money in there, every paycheck. And then, hopefully at some point in the future, there will be enough in there to at least, give you a little bit of extra spending money as you keep working until you drop dead.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think, I think the scary thing about the markets right now are stocks are down, bonds are down, crypto is down. Like, there's, everything's down.
In the past, when stocks went down, people would buy gold. And I thought Bitcoin would be like that, right? Like that would be,
that's what a lot of people thought, that it would be like gold. But, unfortunately, at least gold, you have something physical that, has some
but let's be fair. The industrial value of gold comes nowhere near the price of gold. I mean, you could, if you had some gold bricks in your basement, you could probably find somebody to buy it to make, expensive stereo dongles. But it's not like it's going to be, what's the price of gold per ounce? It's a lot more than the industrial value of it. So gold is probably similar to Bitcoin in that respect, right?
Well, I mean, at least it has some industrial value. Bitcoin, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's a scam.
Yeah. The current.
Well, I think there's the future, guys. That's what we're all forgetting.
I guess I have to be the Web3 defender, and
Oh, good. We found one finally.
Great.
Finally.
Well, I think there is some utility value in cryptocurrencies broadly. In the idea of like greatly improving cross-border payments, taking a lot of cost out of the equation. Not necessarily with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is one of the least efficient cryptos out there. The problem is that the speculation value, the quote unquote investment value, but really it's speculation. The speculation value of these cryptocurrencies is at complete tension with any utility. The more volatile and hence, short-term money making these currencies are, the less useful they are for payments.
Right. As El Salvador has learned, to their chagrin, they made Bitcoin last year their state currency, replacing the dollar, and now they can't pay their debts. I shouldn't.
Well,
I shouldn't have
make it.
Go ahead.
I think they made it legal tender, but I don't think they completely replaced the dollar. I think they made it parallel as an alternative to the dollar. So you could use the dollar or use Bitcoin, but it didn't completely replace the dollar.
They bought a significant amount of Bitcoin, which was also a little bit of a mistake. I shouldn't laugh, but there's so many Bitcoin bros, especially those Bitcoin billionaires going around saying, you see, it's the future. There's so much hype around it. I guess I feel terrible for anybody who's lost money, because I don't know. I doubt it will come back to its former glory days. Maybe it will. But I think maybe some of the bloom is off the rose. So I feel terrible for anybody who's lost money. But at the same time, I'm glad that it's kind of taken some of the air out of the market. Ironically, Jack Dorsey, former Twitter CEO, one of the founders of Twitter, announced Web 5.0, which is Web 2.0 plus Web 3.0, based on Bitcoin's blockchain just a couple of weeks ago. That's not looking like a good choice right about now. Coinbase.
I think it's time for Web 6.0.
Yeah,
literally.
maybe we got to skip ahead. What's
there's
now? Are you?
that,
You said you're going to defend Web 3. Mm-hmm. What is good about Web 3?
I mean, there's a limited set of circumstances where a blockchain, which is basically a write-only database that's distributed on the internet, is useful, and it's generally where you don't want to have one party maintaining a database, and where where you don't want to have to trust someone,
right? Like a bank.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the irony is that we've built all these systems that do rely on trust, and people are kind of used to it. And there's even a kind of a thinking in the, in the crypto world that, well, like if you get caught by a scam, you didn't do your research.
Right.
It's your fault because you shouldn't have to trust.
And who do you blame? Right. There's no bank to complain to.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, to your point, Leo, I am very sympathetic to people who saw a misleading ad and kind of, went for it based on those false premises. I'm also sympathetic to people who say, hey, the existing system is, I believe, people who believe the existing system's rigged against them and, don't want to invest in stocks. They're certainly not getting any kind of interest on their bank deposits. And that's see exactly it as a way to,
And that's exactly the situation this person close to me was in. Didn't believe, thought the system was corrupt and broken and basically rigged against normal people, and was reading Reddit forums, and even when I tried to explain the technical stuff and the limitations. I mean, there's, as you said, I agree that there's some theoretical, really interesting use cases for blockchain and crypto, but when you actually start looking at it as a store of value, it becomes way more problematic, and actually trying to use it. And certainly I don't think anybody has come up with a really viable way of making it usable as a store of value. And when you look at the world around you today and see all the corruption, it is very enticing to jump into something like this and hope that maybe this is going to be a solution to the problems that we have.
Part of the eye opener though is it's not corruption free. The world is full of corruption. It's full of scammers. It's full of bad guys. And NFTs, it turns out, not only is it centralized pretty much all on OpenSea, but if OpenSea decides, as they did with the Bored Ape, we're not going to sell anymore, you can't, that's it, you're done. So it is centralized. And there are plenty of scammers out there who found ways to steal NFTs, to phish NFTs. I feel like it's the best, it's the worst of all worlds combined. Yeah. But it does have this utopian promise of something better. I just don't see it happening. There's also the environmental impact, which we can't ignore. I know that banking has an environmental impact as well, but these proof of work cryptocurrencies right now are not exactly the thing we should be doing, I think, as the world gets hotter and hotter.
I mean, my one issue is that people are describing them as currencies, but really what they're being used as right now is just for speculation.
They're tulip bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're tulip bulbs that we're all betting.
Except they don't look pretty in the spring.
Except for there's nothing to hold.
Yeah, to your point, Sam, at least you could plant a tulip bulb. Even if you paid $5,000 for it, at least you'll get a tulip. Maybe not. If your tulip is held in a vault under the Swiss Alps, maybe not. Anyway, I don't want to pile on. If you're holding Bitcoin, I have almost 8 Bitcoin. But I can't access it because I forgot my password and it's just sitting in my wallet.
No.
Yeah, it's an old story. Everybody knows this story. Actually not old, no. Well, maybe oh no. But see, this is always a problem even with stocks. If you knew when the peak was, it would be oh no. You should have sold Leo when it's 60,000 because it's never going to be there again. But is it? If I sold it today at 20,000 and it goes to 60 in a year, did I do the right thing? So it's better it's locked away. I didn't buy them. They were donations. For a while, we have a tip jar or something on the website. For a while, I had a QR code for a Bitcoin wallet. And so, I didn't buy them.
People just sent you 8 Bitcoin?
Well, this was in the last one was 2015. This was when they weren't worth anything. And they weren't even sending whole Bitcoins. They were sending fractionals. But enough people did it. It was 7.85 Bitcoin. And I can see it. I have the wallet. I just have to remember the passphrase to unlock it. It'll come to me. I don't feel as bad, and I've mentioned this before too, and I apologize if you're hearing me repeat. I don't feel as bad as Steve Gibson, our security guy. When Bitcoin first started, he thought it'd be fun to set up a Bitcoin miner. Literally next morning, 50 Bitcoin came out of it. Early on, it was easy to do that on just a PC. So he put the wallet on a hard drive, forgot about it, later erased the hard drive. So he had, even by today's standards, he had $1 million. He had $3 million at the peak that just he erased. And that's the other, by the way, no central bank, nobody to complain to. You forget your password, you erase your hard drive, you lose your wallet, you use a custodial wallet, which a lot of people did at Mt. Gox and other places. You lose it, there ain't nobody to complain to.
Of course, if you set fire to a pile of, paper bills, the bank's not going to replace it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But the non-reversibility of cryptocurrency transactions, but by and large, there are some that are reversible. But that's a big problem, and people haven't really gotten their heads around the customer service implications of that. Just if there's transaction fraud. I haven't even heard people talk about that issue as much, which I think is a big issue in terms of making it mainstream.
Right. At least Jake Paul is broke now. That's all. I'm just happy about that. That's all.
Okay, there's no way he's broke. He probably has marginally less money.
Yeah, I mean, they're still worth 20,000 unless he bought it at 30.
Or is he leveraged if he bought it on margin?
Oh, he could be. He could be. He put all.
Bitcoin is the thing that brings Jake Paul down. I'll be very surprised. What a world.
But I think that a lot of what we're seeing, like, why is everything kind of collapsing at once? It's because you've had a ton of leverage into this market, and all of these leveraged bets are unwinding at once.
Right.
And it's just enormous selling pressure.
And by the way, this picture is why there are people, maybe me, who have some schadenfreude about all that. There's Jake Paul literally rolling in money. And, that's why people don't like Bitcoin bros, right? There's so I feel bad. Anybody who lost money, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jake. At least you have your boxing career to fall back on.
Isn't that his brother?
Oh, is it Logan's? I can't keep track of them.
I don't know.
There's
thought it was.
My son, who is hip and with it, tells me there's one good Paul and one bad Paul. I don't know which is which.
Inside of you, there are two Pauls, a good Paul and a bad Paul.
Jake Paul did blame Biden for the fall of Bitcoin. So I'm thinking.
Oh, so there's that. Yeah.
maybe he's the bad Paul. All right. We're not going to go on and on. Bitcoin, I hope it goes back up. I really do, for all of us, all of your sake. And I hope they go to proof of stake or less energy-intensive ways of keeping the ledger, because that's not good either.
But before you move on, going back to Owen's defense of Web3, I think some of the principles behind that, like more decentralization, getting away from everything being consolidated with a few major players like Facebook and Google and Apple and so on. I think I like that in principle, but the reality is the reason why it got centralized in the first place is most people don't want to and don't know how to run their own servers and do all this stuff on their own.
Right.
This is something that, that the technology is such that invariably you will end up consolidating it, with a few players and OpenSea and, everything else. There's no reason why, technically today, why it couldn't be decentralized. I mean, that's what it was to begin with. But the reality is most people don't want to manage all of this stuff. They want to be able to just use the stuff without thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And that's also part of the problem because you're going to get taken if you aren't vigilant with these cryptocurrencies. I wonder how the Winklevoss twins are doing.
Weren't they playing a concert recently?
Yeah, they're
in
rock
Brooklyn?
and rollers now. They're new. That's the new thing. Cameron Winklevoss says, "I can't believe Bitcoin's tanking." They took all the money that they got by suing Mark Zuckerberg, saying he stole Facebook from them. They plowed that into crypto. They had a crypto fund. They did all sorts of stuff.
Don't gamble with money you can't afford to lose.
But again,
well, they had they had that Facebook money. I wonder if you compared the performance of Bitcoin versus Meta stock.
Meta stock's not done that well either, right?
They're probably glad they got out of that.
Yeah,
for many reasons.
Cameron Winklevoss tweeted, "Bitcoin under 20K feels like an over-rotation. The underlying fundamentals, adoption, and infrastructure have never been stronger. We saw the irrational top. This feels irrational in the other direction," which is his way of saying, keep buying Bitcoin.
I think the most impressive thing about that tweet is that he doesn't have an NFT profile.
Oh, you're right.
his
Well, he's
Twitter
not
account.
ETH, he's BTC,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
That makes sense.
I wonder if all the people who have .eth Twitter handles are quickly taking those off, changing their
I want to know how the Crypto.com stadium is doing.
Oh,
the
my
Crypto.com
God.
arena.
I hope they've got the money up
What's gonna
front.
happen with that? Yeah.
They renamed the Staples Center Crypto.com. Remember all the crypto ads on the Super Bowl? You know what?
It's kind of like when Pets.com was
Right.
advertising on the Super Bowl.
Remember Larry David, his ad where he's the boomer who is, thinks everything's dumb, the wheel, toilets, Bitcoin.
I mean, the wheel is pretty dumb. It's got
yeah.
that one.
So it was a funny ad.
And what did the wheel ever do for us?
But all it was really saying, okay, boomer, you don't get it. Bitcoin's all that. And, I hope he got paid in dollars, American dollars. That's all I can
believe
say.
he did. I think there was I'm
really?
the outlet, but someone had followed up with him and his agent after that ad being like, "Did you guys get paid in Bitcoin? How do you feel now?" They're like, "We got paid in normal dollars. We don't know anything about Bitcoin. It was an ad."
Larry just got up and read a script.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
It was very funny. It was as good as Curb Your Enthusiasm, his TV show.
What about all those mayors who quote unquote got paid in Bitcoin? I mean, first of all, they never got paid in Bitcoin. They took their mayoral paychecks and converted it to Bitcoin, but that's got to be a hit. I think the mayor of Miami, he has some other job, so he said he wasn't worried about it. Which
Miami created their own cryptocurrency. I guess he ran on the notion that he's really hip. Francis
How is
Suarez.
Miami Coin doing? I thought it crashed.
It's actually issued by a company called City Coins. Miami's just a beneficiary, so it's not like
But it's a white label.
city.
Let me tell you what happened. February 2nd, they cashed out of Miami Coin, depositing $5.25 million American dollars into the city's coffers, at which point Miami Coin crashed 95%. It's worth $30.0032 right now.
Wow.
3/100ths of a cent.
Much like Miami in the future, Miami Coin is underwater.
Oh, ow.
Good one.
As a Floridian, I can make that joke.
Burn. Well, and you're also next door to Eric Adams, who was so jealous of Suarez that he said, "Oh, I'm going to take my first 3 paychecks in Bitcoin," the new mayor of New York City. I think he's changed the subject lately. I don't know if New York City's. They were going to also issue a New York coin, I believe. I think that plan is.
There was going to be
Something to
Philly
make the
coin,
train
and I think
run.
Philadelphia ran them out of town.
Good for Philly.
As usual. Apparently, Suarez told Davos, he spoke about this at Davos. He says, I still take my salary in Bitcoin. But he said, I have other, as you said, Owen, I have other income. If a person was deciding to take their whole salary in Bitcoin, if it was the only source of income for them, I wouldn't recommend it. Oh, really? He's
What income does he have? Isn't mayoring a full-time job?
Yeah, you would think. But I guess in Miami,
Everybody's got a side gig.
you can have a side hustle. Yeah.
True.
Anyway, I shouldn't gloat because I am going to have to work for the rest of my life because my 401k is now down 25% as well. So, we're all suffering. Inflation through the roof.
We're all
stock market through the.
suffering.
Yeah, we're all suffering. It's nothing to celebrate anyway. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth to you. Oh, good. I almost don't want to bring up Elon Musk. He is, of course, one of the people who has been flogging cryptocurrencies. Remember the Dogecoin tweet? Now he's being sued for billions of dollars it's one of those class action suits. People claiming that Dogecoin was a pyramid scheme, which it wasn't. It was a meme coin. But Elon said he was going to buy it. It went up. In fact, he just said it again.
Yeah, he just tweeted this.
Elon, he says, I will keep supporting Dogecoin. He tweeted that yesterday. Keep buying it then, says altcoin Gordon, to which Elon says, I am.
That man needs to impose screen time limits on his devices. He just needs to log off.
I think no one should be on Twitter. I told you this, Sam, on the radio show today. There's this whole, this great man hypothesis, right? That we love to think of, a Tony Stark. We love to think of Thomas Edison, Alexander the Great, these great men who changed the world single-handedly. We love this myth. But I think if any of these great men, except for Tony Stark, if any of these other great men tweeted...
Who is a fictional character.
Who is completely made up. And if he tweeted, he'd probably tweet cool. But anybody... if Thomas Edison had Twitter, we would have known what a dick he was. If Henry Ford had Twitter, we would have known he was an anti-Semite.
Well, we did
And a
know that
Nazi.
Henry was an anti-Semite because he published little pamphlets.
But
I forget.
That's the difference
Man,
between tweeting
the old tweets.
and publishing little pamphlets. Like, I bet you most of the people buying Ford automobiles didn't really know about Henry's, hobby.
True.
But that's the thing. Twitter reveals all.
Yeah,
I would support
it's the
if
classic.
we transitioned from tweeting to a pamphlet-based meme
Yes,
economy.
There
what?
we go.
That's the punishment. If you get
Go
banned
back
from
to pamphlets.
Twitter, you have to publish pamphlets.
It's the classic. It's the classic. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than speak up and prove it.
So does retweeting become like hiring people to distribute those pamphlets door to door?
Yeah, those.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's like
news
buying. It's
collar
like
boys
buying.
with the original retweeters.
It's like buying followers. You pay people to redistribute your pamphlets.
Knock on the door. I'm here bringing you the good word from Elon. Have you found Elon? He is facing a $258 billion lawsuit over Dogecoin, which makes me think that the only reason he tweeted that he's still all in on Dogecoin is to troll the people who are suing him, I guess. He just doesn't care.
When is he going to face some consequences for what he's doing with the Twitter merger deal, though? Because, clearly there were terms in that said, don't disparage Twitter, don't try and shake up the deal. And he is doing all of those things.
Twitter wants him to pay $54.20 for their shares so badly, and he knows this, that they are willing to put up with all sorts of bad behavior. Now, there is a $1 billion breakup fee, but they want all $54.20 a share. They want the $44 billion. And I think that's just what's going on. They're just saying, I don't just, let's get to the end of this. Elon did address an all-hands meeting at Twitter. I imagine terrifying the employees.
He went in on a he FaceTimed in like portrait mode style.
Crap. Talk about disrespect.
For a guy that's
Yeah.
well, especially given his recent comments, his recent memo to Tesla employees about working remotely, that if you want to do fake work, go somewhere else.
He dialed in,
coming in remotely to Twitter
10 minutes late via his phone.
So he was early by Elon time then.
It's true, yeah.
I mean, this is so disrespectful, right? If it's an all hands meeting, get a desk. Get Zoom, get an EOS Rebel. Come on, get a decent camera. Treat these people with respect.
Don't spend your time talking about aliens. That's what he did.
He did?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he talked about aliens, among other topics. Wasn't much talk.
Is he bullish on aliens?
He still thinks we're in a simulation. So
this is the picture of Elon. It looks like he's in a hotel lobby.
He looks like he's doing a cameo. Hey, Elon Musk here.
Happy birthday, Paris! It's Elon Musk. Wishing you best regards.
I think you should do the rest of the show in that voice, please.
Not how Elon talks.
According to Casey Newton's platformer, he says here, also at one point Musk mentioned that he had seen no evidence of alien life, and no one really knew what to make of that.
Oh, so he's bearish on aliens.
I just have seen no evidence. He also says he wants 1 billion users, which is
same.
It's like 5.
Don't we all?
770 million more than it has right now. And so he says, look, free speech is important. We should allow people to say what they want, but
unless you work for SpaceX.
Right. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, unless you work for SpaceX.
Yeah. But it's important to make Twitter as attractive as possible. And of course, free speech, real free speech, which turns you into 4chan or worse, does not make Twitter a 1 billion user platform by any means, right? So he's got a little bit of a problem there. And by the way, spam is a form of protected speech. So I don't know what he's going to do there. He says, really, that means not showing people content they would find offensive. Well, even frankly, boring is not good. TikTok, there you go, does a great job of making sure you're not bored.
I mean, it's freedom of speech versus freedom of reach. He's kind of backing away from the free speech, the free speech wing of the free speech party position, and saying, well, maybe let people tweet that stuff, but don't show it to anyone else, which is a lot of what the Republican critics of Twitter are worked up about. The so-called shadow banning.
So do you think he's advocating shadow banning? Because that's not going over.
Now he seems to be pro shadow banning, even though I've seen him reply to people saying, "Oh, we're going to fix that shadow banning stuff."
He's this is the problem. He's very much a shoot from the hip kind of guy, and so
I think
he's
just pro talking.
Yeah, he's pro Elon. Casey said, I talked to half a dozen or so employees after the meeting. Reactions were mixed, but mostly negative. Musk won some points for sounding genuinely enthusiastic about the prospect of owning and running Twitter. I think that's a good thing. These poor Twitter employees are shell-shocked because everybody's been going, Jack Dorsey goes, see ya. I mean, it's been a rocky 10 years. And it looks like he does, in fact, want it. He's going to go through, or at least maybe if Twitter can resolve this spam bot thing, he can go through with his $44 billion acquisition.
The spam bot thing was never going to stop the deal.
Well, he wanted a better price. You think, Owen? Is that what it was about? Like negotiation?
I think so, but there's no way the Twitter board was going to give it to you.
Yeah, he already signed on the dotted line. You can't.
He signed a clause called specific performance, and specific performance means you can actually go to a judge and force the other party to consummate the deal.
You agreed. And furthermore, you agreed as is. You didn't say, well, let me do due diligence. You specifically waived it, right?
Musk said he wanted to buy Twitter to fix the spam bot problem. And then he says, "Oh, I didn't know there were spam bots on Twitter."
There's so
makes
many.
no sense.
Yeah.
Casey Newton on Platformer, if I were to make a word cloud of employee responses, the biggest ones would be incoherent, rambling, uninspiring.
So it's a typical Elon speech then.
Yeah.
Rambling and incoherent.
Is there any takeaway from this? I guess the takeaway is he's wants to buy it.
I don't know if that's the takeaway. I think the takeaway is that during that 10-minute conversation, he wanted to buy it. It's going to probably change through different times over the next month.
Yeah. Analysts believe he will cut 20% of the workforce. In other words, of the 8,000 people listening, a couple of thousand going to lose their job. When asked about layoffs, he dodged the question, but he did say Twitter is losing money, and that's not a great situation. If Elon thinks he's going to make $44 billion back in his lifetime on Twitter, he's just wrong. But obviously, he got a lot of people to invest, right? Why are people giving him money to buy Twitter? That's crazy. Larry Ellison gave him $1 billion. You're not going to get that money back, Larry? Guess he can afford it. Here's what Musk said. I want Twitter to contribute to a better, long-lasting civilization where we better understand the nature of reality. It's kind of a heavy burden for a social network.
And also probably impossible if it's essentially unmoderated.
Yep.
Okay. Now, meanwhile, Mr. Free Speech fired a number of employees, apparently, who instigated a letter at SpaceX, the letter saying that Elon was an embarrassment.
And a distraction. How many people signed that letter? Apparently, it was several hundred but it sounds like about 5 were fired. Apparently, they may think that they were the instigators of this thing.
So Elon can say, see, I didn't fire them all. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is it? If John, if you circulated a petition saying Leo's a jerky jerk, and we don't like him, and he's a distraction and embarrassment. Actually, I think that letter did circulate. But am I allowed to fire you for doing that? Actually, in California, yes, it's an at-will.
You're allowed to fire anyone for anything.
It's an at-will state.
In the U.S., yeah.
Well, I think, I don't know. In some places, it may not. I don't know. In California,
I think even in even in a stricter state, you
could still fire people for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For actively disparaging the company.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the substance. I mean, what does any of Elon's activity around Twitter, around Dogecoin, have to do with SpaceX, which he has always said it getting to Mars, making human civilization multiplanetary is his most important thing. He's not acting like it. He's not signaling that it's the most important thing. And I think that is a legitimate gripe by SpaceX employees.
Yeah. Although, people always say, oh, you bash Elon, you don't ever give him credit. SpaceX launched 3 rockets in the last 48 hours, retrieved all of the, are those boosters, John? The first stages. One of those first stages had been reused 13 times, which is the kind of economy NASA can only look at and drool over. That's really impressive. Now, we had Rod Pyle, before you say that, hold on, one more thing. We had Rod Pyle on, our space guy, on Sunday, and he did something I knew he would do. He said he launched 3 rockets in 36 hours because Elon gets all the credit, right?
Of course.
Elon did not launch 3 rockets in 36 hours. SpaceX did. And all those great engineers.
During that period of 36 hours, how many times did Elon Musk tweet?
About Dogecoin.
Well, the other thing about SpaceX is that while Elon is technically the CEO, he doesn't actually run the company day to day. It sounds like he's actually not there very often.
He pretends he does.
Yeah, Gwen Shotwell runs the company.
Right.
She is the chief operating officer and president, but she is the one that really runs the operation day to day. And if there is any one individual, and certainly in something like this, there is never any one individual that deserves all the credit. But if there is somebody that deserved credit, it would be her, not Elon.
Gwen, yeah. She was the one who fired the letter writers, by the way.
Yeah.
So we'll give her credit for that, too. That is a very impressive thing. And while NASA is struggling getting the SLS even to do a fueling test, they keep rolling it back off the platform. Elon launches 3 rockets in 36 hours.
They're about to try again.
Another one? Oh, the SLS.
For the fueling test for the
Artemis.
SLS,
yeah. How many times have they rolled it back? 3 or 4 times?
I think they only rolled it back once. They tried the fueling test 3 times, and they rolled it back to the vehicle assembly building, and now they've rolled it back out again. And I think they're going to try again this week.
So credit to Elon's company, SpaceX. How about that? And I mean, he had the.
What was it? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know how SpaceX sent a Tesla up into space? What do you think he'll do if he owns Twitter? Going to send a big tweet? A big tweet to the moon?
He'll send the original server up.
Yeah. Get somebody to stamp a tweet out onto the surface of the moon, because it'll never go away. It'll be there forever. All right, let's take a little break. That's enough Elon for the day. I mean, I had many, 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 many more stories I could use, but he's trying to get out of the SEC. Seriously, Elon is the chief newsmaker of the day. He's trying to get out of the SEC deal to have lawyers approve his tweets. He is pumping Doge. I guess we got it. We got them all. There you go. That's it. That's all of them.
This week in Elon.
Yep. This week in Elon has now come to an end. Thank you very much for your attention. We'll be back with something else in just a bit. You might have noticed, I know you didn't say anything, but you might have noticed I'm looking a little trim, a little fit. I've been steadily, safely losing weight through Noom. I am a fan of Noom Weight because it's not a diet. It is about learning about your relationship with food so that you are conscious when you eat, and then kind of magically you eat better and eat well, and there are no forbidden foods. It's, there's a lot of information out there. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by all the information from the wellness industry, but Noom believes the only place you really need to start is right up here in your mind. With Noom Weight, you take a path toward better health one lesson at a time. It's a psychology-based approach that really helped me change the way I think about food and health. Rather than changing my whole lifestyle, early on in Noom, you have a coach, you have a group, and I shamefacedly said I had a hot dog last night. My coach said, "What are you talking about? Nothing wrong with that. There's no bad foods." "What? I can eat a hot dog?" They said, "Yes." "You log it?" "Yes." "Have you been reading the lessons?" "Yes." It's cognitive behavioral therapy and other scientific principles that help you better understand your relationship with food. For instance, I really learned that when I overeat, I do something they call fog eating. I'm kind of in a fog. I'm eating for emotional reasons or stress reasons, and I'm not even tasting the food. Noom taught me to turn off the TV, put down the phone, sit, enjoy, taste every bite. And you know what? I just magically, by doing that, eat less. It's kind of remarkable. Noom understands building long-term positive habits can be hard and filled with ups and downs. It's about progress, though, not perfection. Everybody's journey looks different. Noom is fully grounded in science. This is not voodoo. It's scientific. They've published more than 30 peer-reviewed scientific articles for users, practitioners, scientists, and the public about how their methods work and how effective they are. The idea is get no more stress, be empowered. Be empowered because you're taking care of your health. One day off isn't going to ruin the program. Noom helps you get back on track. You decide how it fits into your life, not the other way around. 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. I take about 10 minutes a day to read the lessons. With Noom, I log my food so I know what I'm eating. It's about bringing awareness to what you're eating. But how much time you spend is up to you. And the thing is, I've been on Noom now for a year. and I am about 20 pounds under my starting weight. And I don't weigh myself every day. It fluctuates, and that's normal. But I feel better. I'm healthier. All my metrics are better. My doctor's very proud of me. Start building better habits today. Sign up for your trial at Noom, NOOM.com/twit. Give it a try. They have a trial. You can see if it works for you. I think it will. That's what I did, and I was so happy. In fact, I'll tell you who's really happy. My wife. I started doing it, and Lisa said, "Well, I'll keep you company because I'll be a supportive spouse." She's at the lowest weight she's ever been her whole life since I've known her. She looks great. She's completely in control of her weight, and she just loves it. And we went out last night, 7-course dinner, very fancy, fun. She's writing everything down, taking pictures. It was fun. It was fun. We're doing it together. Get your spouse to do it with you. NOOM.com/twit. Sign up for your trial. Just be prepared for her to do better than you because she's really, I don't know how. She's amazing. Noom. Thank you, Noom. Thank you very much, Noom. Noom.com/twit. So remember how the EU said we're going to pass a law that requires Apple to, all phone manufacturers, but it's only Apple that's not doing it, to use USB-C. Well, now senators have written a bill to Gina Raimondo of the U.S. Commerce Secretary saying, we want to do the same thing. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey are calling on the FTC and the Commerce Secretary to require USB-C chargers by 2024. They cite a figure from the EU saying chargers alone would account for about 11,000 tons of e-waste. Type-C is everywhere else. Frankly, this is only Apple, right? I don't think anybody's not using Type-C at this point. Laptops do. All the Android phones do. It's just Apple. Apple makes somewhere between $3 and $4 a cable for licensing the lightning cable. So if I were going to make a lightning cable, I'd have to pay Apple because it's proprietary. I'm sure they're reluctant to let that go, but I also see this happening. In fact, I think Apple's been planning this before 2024. Any thoughts? Is this a good thing?
My question is, I guess, is there a world in which by 2024, 2025, there's a new type of cable that is perhaps better for all of these things
and now
to be
we're
using,
stuck with the Type-C?
And now we're stuck with USB-C? I mean, I genuinely don't know. Is that not how this works, or is USB-C going to be here to stay?
Well, that's always the reasonable thing when government mandates technology. It's like, well, do you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It seems a little complicated to mandate one sort of cable. I
am told, I have not read the EU regulation, but I'm told the EU regulation does allow for this, that if a new standard comes along, it makes it easy for them to support the new standard. So
when USB-D comes along, they can say, okay, 3 years from now, you have to switch to USB-D.
Right.
Or whatever it might be.
Right.
I think my bigger complaint with this is, does the U.S. Congress have nothing better to do? If EU, seems like EU's already got this covered. If EU mandates USB-C,
right,
Apple's going to switch to USB-C. They're not going to sell phones with Lightning in the U.S. and USB-C in Europe.
Right.
They're going to have one design. And why does our Congress have to bother with this? Do something productive. I won't say
feel
what
like
that should be.
Politics in this nation, and really worldwide, has become increasingly performative.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do this because you know that a certain percentage of your constituency is going to say, yeah, they're sticking it to big tech. Love that. And it doesn't really matter even if this becomes law. I mean, maybe Bernie believes it. I'm going to be surprised if Bernie, just says, no, this is the right thing to do. But I think and this is probably the part of the problem with politics, especially in the U.S., but generally worldwide is it's not about doing anything. It's about looking like you're doing something.
I mean, this is something that I've noticed as over the years when I've been covering kind of the big tech hearings or social media related hearings is the first couple of times I was like, oh, great, a lot of debate and discussion around tech related issues, antitrust. But what it ends up being every single time is just the politicians reading from a stump speech that they want to have their team clip and share on Twitter and Facebook so that their constituents can be like, oh, wow, they really stuck it to those tech CEOs, or wow, they're really asking Mark Zuckerberg about X, Y, and Z. And it ultimately ends up being for no real purpose.
Right.
Doesn't Apple maybe need some reining in here? Like, they just introduced new MacBooks that have, surprise, the MagSafe charger is back, which, I really like that design. If you've ever had it fall off, it's.
But you can, by the way, I'm pretty sure, in fact, I think I've done it, you can still charge those MacBooks with USB-C, with a Type-C connector.
Yeah,
so you have the choice.
Most newer computers can. Like my HP laptop that I have from my employer has a proprietary charger with a barrel connector on it. But I can also, when I travel, I leave that on my desk, and I have a USB-C charger that's in my backpack, and I can charge it from that.
That's a great compromise, because I do think MagSafe is better in some situations. It's for one thing, when I put my laptop to bed at night, because it just sucks it in because it's magnetic. I don't have to, kind of fiddle around, try to find the hole and all that stuff. So it's really, I think I like MagSafe. But if I didn't have a MagSafe adapter with me, I could still charge it. I don't know why Apple would care that much except for this license fee. I mean, they already don't put charging bricks in the iPhone box, which ironically is making some people angry. I think in Brazil they're mad about that.
I mean, it's kind of a no-win. Like, if you include it, then you're accused of, driving up costs and contributing to e-waste.
Yep.
And if you don't, then people get mad too.
Yep.
I will say I'm pretty excited about the new line of Macs just because they now have a lot of ports. And I mean, my Mac is not that old. It's 2019 or whatever, so I'm probably not going to upgrade just now. But I would love to have a computer with more than 2 ports.
Oh, I agree.
Generally.
I agree. I bought the 14-inch MacBook Pro when it came out last year. It's so nice. I mean, it was like, who snuck into Apple in the middle of the night and put an HDMI port and an SD card reader on this thing? It's like, that is going back. That's like nostalgia time. And I think it's just because Johnny Ive left.
I remember when Apple switched design and took out the SD card reader, totally messed up my live blogging routine, because I would, I had a nice camera with an SD card. I would take some photos, then run back, and just swap in the card. I even had 2 SD cards so I could keep going.
It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah.
And then got a new Mac, didn't even look to see if it had a reader, and I had no way. I didn't bring the USB cable, and I had no way of getting the photos off my camera at that next event.
Yeah. Speaking of Back to the Future, this was the week Internet Explorer died. Oh, the end of the line.
No more internet left to explore.
I guess it's over.
It all.
It is kind of retro. It is like, you remember web surfing,
Yeah. 27 years, I think. I remember when IE3 came out, it was 1996. Netscape was still charging, right? You had to buy Netscape. And Microsoft said, just get our browser for free. And when the version, I guess it was 3.0, came out, that was as good as you could justify paying for Netscape with the earlier versions of IE. But when it came out as good as Netscape for free, I said, in fact, I said this on TV on MSNBC, I said, kiss it goodbye. Bye-bye, Netscape. IE is free, and it's going to take over the world. And I was told later that Mark Andreessen was watching NBC. He was, of course, the founder of Netscape was watching MSNBC and came screaming down the hall saying, "Who the hell is this guy?" But I was right.
That's what I say every time I see you on my TV screen as well.
Who the hell is this guy? What's he think he's talking about? And of course, Netscape went away. It was the end of the line.
And what happened next is that Microsoft, of course, neglected to develop Internet Explorer,
Right.
particularly on the Mac. And Steve Jobs got so frustrated with the bad performance of IE for the Mac that he started the Safari project. It was actually a story on Wired that asked, why is IE for the Mac so bad? And they benchmarked it against IE on the PC, and that was the beginning of Safari.
It was a pig. It was horrible, and it crashed. In fact, let me see. There's a site, I bookmarked it here somewhere, that brings back the probably the most remembered feature of Internet Explorer. Let me see if I can find this. I bookmarked it some time ago. Because I just, sometimes you get a little nostalgic. Here it is. It's lagplorer.tms.sx. You ready? Show my screen because I want to. So it's the best loved feature of Internet Explorer. When it crashed, it would do this. You could paint the screen with the crash dialogue. Remember this? You just, that's it. You're getting PTSD
Honestly, I think
that?
Internet Explorer, though, has a future as a streetwear brand. Like, imagine this all over a jacket.
Oh.
Straight fire.
That's a nice.
I'd wear that.
Yeah. You got to just keep doing it till it's
give me a
just
call.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe some bed linens. My sheet and pillowcases could look like that.
Brooke Linen needs to get on that.
There are actually some crypto websites that have this like retro gray background, kind of blocky tabs look that's very throwback to Internet Explorer.
Oh, that's hysterical.
I don't know why that look is trendy, but Paris, I think you're onto something.
It's nostalgia.
It's the retro. Yeah. It's the retro vibes.
Do you remember? You're not old enough to remember. Did you use IE, Paris? Are you old enough to remember those days? Yeah.
I used IE.
Yeah. I guess we all kind of had to. Wall Street Journal had the strangest article about this. Sure, Internet Explorer had its faults, they wrote, but fans are mourning its death anyway. Here's a 22-year-old kid who...
3 windows of Internet Explorer.
He doesn't. Let me tell you something. Let me read you some of the quotes from the people they say use Internet Explorer. Sam Maumalanga, 31-year-old Polynesian dance instructor from Euless, Texas, said, this is the Wall Street Journal, folks, "I'm still trying to process it. I've used it for so long. It's the first thing I get on my laptop."
Wait, is that a woodcut stipple of the IE?
Yes, it's a woodcut stipple of the IE. I've always wanted a woodcut stipple of me, but no, IE got it. So first of all, it comes in your laptop, Sam. You don't have to get it. That was
my guess is none of the people quoted in this article
ever
actually used it.
Yeah,
but they probably responded to a tweet from the writer looking for Internet Explorer users and thought, "Hey, this is a way to get some attention for my Instagram account or my Twitter or whatever."
Polynesian dance instructor from Euless, Texas. Notice that was in there. Matt Linkert, the aforementioned 22-year-old TikToker from Peterborough, Ontario. "It's sad to see it go." No, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. This is another one. Joni Casey, a 67-year-old retiree in Ellicott City, Maryland, says the Internet Explorer browser is, quote, one of the 3, wait a minute, I got to do it in the right voice. One of the 3 that pop up on my cell phone. What?
This is the only person that I believe actually uses
I
Internet
don't think Internet Explorer pops up on your cell phone. We have
she might be still using an old Windows mobile.
She must be
device,
using a Windows phone
Mobile
because that's the
6 or
only
something.
phone IE was ever on, as far as I can.
How is that? But if it's a Windows phone, what are the 2 other ones that pop up?
Exactly. This is made up. We have.
I'm imagining.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm just imagining that she is holding a laptop up to her face every single day, and it's like it's one of the three things on here.
Pops
I
up
don't
on
know.
my cell phone. We have too many choices, she says. I sort of feel like the fewer the choices, the better. I guess now only two things will pop up on her cell phone. Oh, well, you know, it's hard to write a, what do they call these in journalism, Owen? A think piece about IE? A lifestyle piece?
This is like a non-think
Friend
piece. This is a we were
Yeah.
not, you know. No,
Thoughtless
and
piece.
actually, I would use this as like, you know, like an instructional piece on how to fact check. Like, okay, just because this person said that IE pops up on their cell phone, okay, did they show it to you?
Could it?
Did you like? Is that actually possible? Like, you
Did
don't
you do
just
a quick
print
Google
something.
search to see if that was doable? If there was any phone that ever ran IE?
Oh,
I mean, it's true that she said it. Is it actually true? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of, I would have questions if I were editing that piece.
Yeah. Well, at least they got the story, right?
At least they got the stipple.
They got the stipple. Do you think they computer generate that now? I mean, sure, in the early days it was some
I'm sure that
artist.
Dolly is just pumping out Wall Street Journal stipple. I think that there's actually a website you can go to generate kind of a wonky stipple of whatever you put in it.
it's one of the great disappointments of my life. Some years ago when I was on Tech TV, I was interviewed for a piece in the Wall Street Journal. And I was hoping, please stipple me. I was just praying for this. And they killed the piece. They never ran it. So I feel like I came this close. And maybe there is a stipple of me somewhere in the archives of the Wall Street Journal. If there's an intern listening, would you please look? I want my stipple. Here in Korea.
Just imagining you pick up the phone from a Wall Street Journal reporter and you're like, okay, I can talk to you, but can you give me a stipple, please?
You know, it's
I'm
like
desperate
when
for
the
a
Rolling
stipple.
Stone calls, put me on the cover, man. All I ever wanted was a stipple. Here's a viral gravestone from Korea. Internet Explorer, 1995, August 17th to 2022, June 15th. He was a good tool to download other browsers.
That's about all it was good for.
It says it all, right? Do you think this is real? I hope this is not a Wall-E. We're gonna have to Dolly. We're gonna have to start asking every time we see something like this. Is that a Dolly? Is that generated? Is it real? It looks real. Looks really real.
Browser wars were exciting though. Like they were fun to cover back in the 90s. Like remember when a bunch of rogue Microsoft employees dumped a giant blue E on the front lawn of Netscape?
Remember there was a funeral? There was like a funeral procession at a Comdex one year, and they had Netscape in a coffin.
Oh my God! This
Am I
is the
sure you're not
precursor
thinking
to
of-
Baby Nut.
You sure you're not thinking of Macworld when they brought out Mac OS or classic Mac OS and Mac OS 9 in a coffin?
Maybe this happened more than once. I don't know. Yeah, it could just be a fever dream. I might be imagining. I'd be imagining that.
An early browser died so that what it was, Mr. Nut or Baby Nut could rise. The two different ad campaigns that I remember,
Baby
like there are
Nut?
two. Do you remember this? The Nutter Butter guy. This was right when the pandemic started. They killed off.
Mr. Peanut. They killed off
so that
Mr.
you could
Peanut.
have Baby Nut. That's kind of what happened with the browser.
You know, it's funny. I was talking about this on Tuesday because Andy Anako was eating a can of Planters cheese balls, and it had Mr. Peanut on it. And I said, wait a minute. They killed him.
Wait a minute. He's dead.
He's dead. You can't have him on a can of cheese balls. All right, we're going to have to do some research and see if either Andy got a 5-year-old can of cheese balls or that was all just a marketing ploy. Hard to believe.
No company would ever do
Nobody
something
would
like
ever
that.
do that. I am going to
Never
show
kill
Bring
Mr.
out
Peanut or
Baby
Superman.
Nut.
Andy thought he was all
Yeah.
that because he was using chopsticks to eat the cheese balls. And so Anthony Nielsen gave me these. You can be doing your work. You can be typing. These are called conjoined chopstick snack clips. And so you can reach into the jar, pick up a cheese ball. John, we got to get some cheese balls for Tuesday to make Andy jealous. Look at that. They even have like fine Corinthian leather embossing.
Oh my God.
You want these? Tell me you don't want these.
You should get a can of pre-Mr. Peanut Death cheese balls and post Baby Nut cheese balls.
Baby Nut
And
cheese
do a
balls.
taste test.
I got one.
Oh yeah,
for
one
each
for every hand.
One for every hand. I look a little like Wolverine if Wolverine were a fat guy who ate cheese balls.
I mean, the eating greasy, salty snacks with chopsticks innovation is brilliant.
It's brilliant. It slows you down. You don't get orange on your hands, and you look damn cool.
I don't know. I think you're missing out on half the flavor, though. Half the experience of eating cheese balls is licking the cheese dust off your fingers and feeling a deep sense of shame.
That's oddly specific, Paris.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's a universal experience.
Well, and then
But I mean,
also licking off whatever's on your keyboard as well.
Well, or your
Yeah,
Alcantara. Do you remember somebody tested Alcantara on the Microsoft Surface laptop? They have that fake fabric surface. Somebody actually did rub Cheetos into it to see if it would hold the orange, and it does. Just now you know.
More you know.
It's the more you know. Visit your local library, kids. Leaked audio from 80 internal TikTok meetings. I don't even care about this. Shows that U.S. user data has been repeatedly accessed from China.
So, Leah, do you not care about this from like the same way Scott McNeely famously said, "You have no privacy anyway, get over it," or like you just assumed that China was looking at.
And what are they getting? I mean, what are they getting that's so bad?
They know exactly how many
ByteDance
people
now
watch
knows that I watch interior design videos on TikTok.
Yes.
Ooh.
And then I'm looking for bikini-rich content. At least that's what they think.
But it's just it's a psyop.
It's a psyop. I'm trying to fool them.
Am I the only person who's still so paranoid that like I have not downloaded the TikTok app on any of my devices?
But what are you? I'm serious.
Afraid of?
What are you afraid of?
I don't know. Like, and I'm not, like I'm not that paranoid and other things. But I was just like, or maybe it was just social media overload. I was like, okay, I do not need another like.
That is a very sensible plan. In fact,
Is it paranoia or you just don't care? I mean, that's what it is for me. I just don't care.
Yeah, it kind of feels like multiple things kind of boiling up to just like, I am not going to download this.
My son, I have to because my son is a TikTok star. 2.2 million followers.
Drop the handle, Leo.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody knows by now it's Salt Hank. In fact, he's so famous now on TikTok that people are saying to me, "Do you know? Are you related to Salt Hank?" So it's like it's on, the
Wait,
battle.
So your home is technically a content house. It's not a content house; it's a content home.
Well, he's 27. He's not living with me. He's not. Although I have to say, a lot of his videos are shot in his mother's kitchen because she has such a nice kitchen. He borrows her kitchen. 2.1 million followers, 35.5 million likes. So all of our best cooking recipes are now known by China.
Dangerous.
The world will never be the same.
I have to talk to this young man. This is Emily Baker White's story in BuzzFeed. They discovered this. Leaked audio from 80 internal TikTok meetings shows that U.S. user data has been repeatedly accessed from China. Quote, get ready. I feel like with these tools, there's some backdoor to access user data in almost all of them, says an external auditor hired to help TikTok close off Chinese access to sensitive information like Americans' birthdays and phone numbers. If I get a call from China, then I'll know. Especially if they call me to say happy birthday. Then it'll be obvious.
I just found Googling discover Ukraine misinformation on TikTok. So, I think there are real world.
There's a legit, no, I agree.
Here.
It's not that China is spying on us so much as that TikTok, like any social media, can be used to spread disinformation, to propagandize. I don't think you could elect the next U.S. president with TikTok. You might say that, President Trump in 2016 was elected not solely, but with a lot of help from Facebook and Twitter, right? But I don't think TikTok could elect somebody. Do you think the Chinese are going to say, "Oh, let's elect Biden. He's our puppet, so he should win in 2024," and then there'll be all these positive Biden TikToks? I don't think so.
I think it's more subtle, right? It's like, if you just kind of pull an Elon Musk and say, "Oh, free speech," we're just letting people express themselves. And you just take your foot off the brake a little and let things spread. Does that do enough by itself? So you don't have to actively promote this stuff. You just kind of, neglect it. And,
right. Well, that's what Ted Cruz says. He says TikTok is, quote, a Trojan horse the Chinese Communist Party can use to influence what Americans see, hear, and ultimately think. I just think it's a great way to learn how to make a sandwich. but that's me. TikTok's response to this, and I don't know if this is better, was to move all of the Americans' data to Oracle. So now, who would you rather have this information? The Chinese government or Oracle?
Have you read that recent story about how Larry Ellison runs the island of Lanai, which he owns 98%.
He owns the whole island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, tell me about it.
And
it's a beautiful island.
I believe it was in Forbes.
It's Bloomberg Business Week. I've got the cover sitting next to me,
Bloomberg
but I
Business
need to read it.
Oh, show us the cover.
It's actually haunted.
Oh, no, you don't have to get up. That's all right.
My apologies to Bloomberg Business Week. But
by the way, we have a rule on Twit that if you say that, it has to be Bloomberg Business Week. Lord of Lanai. Wow. Bloomberg Business Week.
So now he's the Lord of Lanai and the tyrant of TikTok.
Tyrant of TikTok, the Lord of Lanai. The Oracle billionaire is making his Hawaiian island more hospitable to the super rich and pushing out families that have been there for generations. Well, that's the story of Hawaii, frankly, for the last 500 years. Was Lanai the leper island? Or no, that was Molokai.
Molokai, yeah.
But there's still people who've been living there for quite a while. Here's a guy named Andrews who does not look like a native Hawaiian. He was kicked out of his house in the past year. But I got to point out, Andrews' forebears, probably an English sailor, kicked some other native Hawaiian out of their house. This is the story of Hawaii, sad to say. Wow. Oh, I didn't see when I looked at your cover that he's wearing, what are those, knickers? What do you call that when the...
So it looks like a little Lord Fauntleroy.
Pantaloons. Pantaloons. He's wearing pantaloons. I love that. Pantaloons, a black turtleneck.
Little Lord Ellison.
Little Lord Larry. Yeah, I think it's where Bill Gates got married many moons ago. Didn't he get married on Lanai? They had a private wedding there. And all the famous, fancy people. He also, I think he's built, isn't that where the new Ritz-Carlton Lanai is there? Yeah, there it is. That's the Four Seasons, I mean.
They've got two of them.
Yeah. Can cost thousands or tens of thousands.
Isn't that 8 seasons, technically?
Is 2 Four Seasons 8 seasons? And where do the extra seasons go?
Or is it exponential? Is it 16?
All right, I'm gonna do a little fact checking, or a little real time fact checking. I'm gonna try to book a room at the Four Seasons Lanai, and just see how much. Let's check the rates at the Four Seasons Lanai. When shall we stay? We'll get 2 rooms, one for the boys, one for the girl.
How about around Christmas time? That's high
Christmas
season,
time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is that high season? All right. That's going to be more expensive. Look, by the way. It's booked for the next couple of months. There's no availability. Oh, let's check rates again. Best rate guarantee. I guess I pushed a button. What's going on here? Choose your room. Do I want lead with care? What room do I don't know. This didn't give me a room. Let's get one when there's a room available. Change search. Sorry, real-time checking can be very costly. You said Christmas.
Go for the Lanai Royal Suite.
Christmas in Lanai.
Christmas in Lanai. Looks like. Oh, can you go backwards? Oh yeah, there we go. Let's go the 23rd. What do you say? And we'll stay through Boxing Day. See how much that's going to cost us. By the way, they want to. We're sorry, there are no rooms available for you.
Oh, I think they've realized that your son's a TikToker.
Well, they know, right? Don't they know? Because Oracle now has the data. Let me go back a little bit. The Christmas is booked. Let's try October. Let's go for Halloween.
Oh, at least they're going to throw in a flight from Honolulu to Lanai for free.
Well, they have to. It's not Lanai.
You can't get there otherwise.
Can't get that from here.
Does Larry own the airline too?
Oh, it is expensive. Prime Oceanfront room, $2,776 a night. Wait a minute though. If I'm willing to go with a garden view, it's only $1,500 a night. That's not.
How much is it if you pay in Bitcoin?
It's $1 Bitcoin a night. I wonder if I can pay in Bitcoin. These are nice. The Palawi suite. Yeah. These are the rooms. They don't tell you the price. If you have to ask, you can't afford it. Just call us. We'll get you set up.
Just give us your black
call
card
them and
number
ask.
We'll take care of the rest.
Hello, I'm calling for, who should I be calling? I'm calling for Mr. Bill Gates. No, you don't want to be that rich. It's just kind of sort of rich. I'm calling for Eric Adams, mayor of the New York City. I have a Bitcoin and I'm not afraid to use it.
He wants to know how many seasons it would be if you doubled it up. Would that be 8 seasons?
Is that
or
8
16?
seasons you have now? All right, let's.
You can get an Ohana Oceanfront suite in August for only $6,000 a night.
Oh, that sounds all right.
That's
August though is not great, right? What happened? What's that?
No.
What is?
I think
Your EOS camera has died.
Time to
it went to sleep.
unplug the camera. Probably the sensor overheated.
on.
All right. She was so
going too
proud of the fact that she had a Canon Rebel camera for her camera, but it's
know.
apparently given up the
Hold
ghost.
on.
It might have overheated. So let's take a break.
You can't record video on those DSLRs for that long.
Things are cooling off while we talk about IT Pro TV more Paris. I feel terrible. Our show today brought to you by IT Pro TV. Your IT team needs the skills and knowledge to ensure your business's success. We talk about IT Pro TV all the time as a great way to get into IT. If you are not working in IT, but you want to get the certifications that help you get that first job or get the training. But it's also great for people who are already IT professionals, especially if you've got an IT team, because you know the business is constantly changing. There's always new stuff to learn. You want them to learn about security. You want to learn about cloud. This is a great way to get training for your team. Get them recertified, get them the education they need. And here's something you can get for your team that they will love. More than 80% of IT Pro TV users who start a video actually finish it. They love it. It's engaging. It's binge-worthy content. The videos are 20 to 30 minutes long, so you can do it during a lunch break. You can do it, at home. You can do it anytime, anywhere. The trainers at IT Pro TV are, of course, experts in the field, but they're also passionate. They love what they're talking about so much that they make it fun. They make it engaging. Look, the tech industry is changing rapidly, constantly evolving. Your team needs to evolve, too, to keep up. There's a new software release. There's a new system upgrade. There's a new cyber threat. IT Pro TV offers the training that they need to keep up on these disruptions. And they do it in a way that's fun, that's easy to use. You can get all your training and certs done in one place because they've got every vendor and skill you need for IT team training. Microsoft, Cisco, Linux, Apple, security, cloud, and more and more. 5,800 hours worth of training, and it's up to date. They've got 7 studios running all day and all night. Well, not all night, but all day to create the content that goes in the library within 24 hours of its recording, so it's always up to date. And you'll love the business plan dashboard, which lets you track your team results. You can manage seats on and assign team members, access monthly usage reports. Make sure your team's using it effectively. You see metrics like logins and viewing time and tracks completed and more. Their reporting's great, so you can show the boss, look, we're getting the value out of this. People are learning. So you get the insight into your team's viewing patterns and progress with beautiful visual reports. You can assign full courses or individual episodes within the courses. Every course has a beautiful transcript, so it's easy to find the part of the course that your team needs training in. You can assign individuals, subsets of users, whole teams. And of course, IT Pro TV has great individual plans too. Give your team the IT development platform they need to level up their skills while enjoying the journey. For teams of 2 to 1,000 and volume discounts start at 5 seats, go to itpro.tv/twit for 30% off or more on a business plan. And all you have to do is say TWIT30 to your account executive. And actually individuals, that works too. 30% off or more on a business plan. Just remember that offer code, TWIT30, itpro.tv/twit. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. You support us too, by the way, when you use that offer code TWIT30 and you go to that address so they know you saw it here. itpro.tv/twit. So what'd you do, Paris? Did you blow on it? Did you cool it off? Or
I just turned it on and turned it off.
Oh.
Or turned it off and turned it on again. Gave it the old router.
Every hour and a half, it's going to do that.
Listen, I mean, when the talk is this spicy, it gets overheated.
It got all excited about going to Hawaii. Let's talk about this because we've got Sam here, auto guy, Sam Abul-Samad, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, podcast host at wheelbearings.media. The folks at the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, we call them NHTSA, have put out their standing general order on crash reporting. They're investigating crashes on advanced driver assist systems, Tesla's. Are they particularly looking at Tesla or just all ADAS systems?
This came, the order originally came out a year ago after they started doing an investigation into a couple of dozen Teslas that had crashed into stationary fire trucks and police vehicles.
Emergency vehicles.
While on autopilot, yeah. And so this particular order applies to all automakers, suppliers, and companies developing automated driving systems. So this includes companies like Waymo and Cruise and Argo AI and others. And what they have to do is within 24 hours of finding out, they have to report any crashes that involve either driver assistance or automated driving system being active within 30 seconds of the crash. So if the system was active and then shuts off and then within 30 seconds you have a crash, they have to report that.
Why that? Was it that anybody was, switching them off right before a crash?
Well, it's not so much that people were switching them off, but there's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of reports over the years from Tesla owners in particular that got into crashes, and they said, my car, it was in autopilot, and it crashed. And Tesla looked at the data and said, nope, autopilot was not active at the time of the crash. But despite lots of questions over the years, and I know I asked Tesla multiple times over the years, in any of these crashes, was the system active, a few seconds before the crash? Because the user interface in these cars is often not entirely clear what mode you're in. It's not obvious much of the time if the system has deactivated, and if you weren't paying enough attention, that you might think that it was still active, and then you get a crash and you think it's active, but it wasn't. Which is why why NHTSA asked for it to be the data to be any time the system was active within 30 seconds of a crash.
I had heard, and maybe this is a scurrilous allegation, that Tesla was intentionally doing that so that Elon could say, completely accurately, as he has done many times, self-driving was not turned on at the time of the crash. Is that just scurrilous, or you think there's some merit in that?
I don't think that they would intentionally turn it off, or the it's entirely possible they might fudge the data. I'm not accusing them of that. But I think what is very reasonable is that, in a lot of these situations, the system did deactivate, when the car was going down the road. The driver thought it was still active and, did not take control when they should have. And then the car crashed. And this is why I think it's important to have this data. Unfortunately, the other thing that NHTSA did is they allowed these companies to declare certain bits of information, confidential business information. And so while the data is reported to NHTSA, when NHTSA finally released the first batch of this data this week, there were about 393 crashes that were reported, 273 of which involved Tesla vehicles.
Here's
on
the
autopilot.
graph. Is this because Tesla reports more accurately, more often, or is it
no,
more?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's that they're just crashing more frequently.
Is that because? Well, I mean, they have more cars with ADAS out there, don't they?
No, not really. Not necessarily, because this includes, a wide variety of different systems. And, they're like, for example, the Hondas, the second highest number was Honda with 90. But, arguably, the Honda vehicles shouldn't have even been included in here because, what they call level 2 systems are systems that control both steering and speed. And if the Honda system, the two systems, the steering control, the lane keeping assist, and the speed control are separate systems. They're not consolidated. But the thing is, I looked through the data. I read through the Excel file that they released, and in the descriptions of the crashes, I looked at all the Honda crashes. None of the crashes were actually cases where the ADAS was the problem. It was always, the car had adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist on, went through an intersection, and a car ran a stop sign and struck the car in the side. It was things like that. So it was all unrelated stuff. But because NHTSA allowed information to be redacted, I looked through all 273 Tesla-related crashes. They redacted the descriptions. So we haven't, NHTSA has the data, but we do not know what happened in those crashes.
These gray wedges of this pie on these crashes, unknown means not that NHTSA doesn't know, but they're not telling us.
in some cases they actually don't know.
Okay.
Because it depends on how the data was reported. So there's cases where they actually don't know what the root cause was.
This is a really interesting, very complete. Yeah. I like driver assist systems. I've used them on Teslas. I've used them on Audi. I have it now on my Ford Mach-E. That's adaptive cruise control. That's an ADAS system, isn't it?
Yeah. It absolutely is.
Where it slows down and when the cars in front of you slow down, and speeds up when they speed up. Lane changing is available in Blue Cruise and GM's whatever cruise they call that one.
Super Cruise.
Right? The automatic lane changing, that would be ADAS. Does anybody attempt to do as much as Tesla does, though? Their autopilot works, for instance, not just on highways like Super Cruise and Blue Cruise, but on city streets. Supposedly, it sees stop signs and stoplights and reacts properly to them. Is anybody else?
It sees them. It doesn't necessarily react properly.
I know sometimes it doesn't.
There's two different things there.
Yeah.
It
sees speed limit signs and reacts to those. Yeah.
Yeah, no one has gone as far as what Tesla has done, at least from a marketing perspective.
And maybe that's part of the problem is that Tesla tells you it's an autopilot. So Tesla drivers rely on it.
That's a fundamental problem here.
Yeah.
Is the way that they brand it. Both Blue Cruise and Super Cruise allow actual hands-free driving. So you can take your hands off the wheel, you still have to watch the road. Technically, with autopilot, you're supposed to keep your hands on the wheel at all times. It's not supposed to be hands-free, and they don't use driver monitoring.
Right. Sorry, Owen.
Oh, it just autopilot suggests that.
Right.
you can.
Which is exactly why you have these crashes, because people assume that it's capable of more than it actually is.
Yeah, that's a marketing problem.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be called autopilot. Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, those don't imply that the plane will fly itself.
Sam, is there a secrecy problem in the self-driving industry? Because I saw that Waymo has also been trying to redact crash data. In this case, it's data that it reported to the California DMV. Someone sought that data, and now Waymo is trying to redact it. It's are these? Do you feel like these companies have a legitimate trade secrets argument here, or is it just a smokescreen because they're embarrassed?
I think it's a smokescreen. I don't, when it comes to crashes, I think that everything should be public. Especially with these types of systems, because no one has proven that these systems are actually even as safe as human drivers yet. And we cannot prove that until we have this data. At least, they are giving the data to government, to regulators. So at least the regulators have access to the data. But I think that, it should be public. I think we have a right to know, because these companies are doing experiments on public roads around other road users that have not consented to be part of an experiment. I mean, did you sign off saying, yeah, I'm okay with Tesla testing full self-driving around me, or Waymo or Cruise or anybody else? I certainly didn't. And so, I think if they're going to test on public roads around other users, all of this information about how and when and why they crashed should be public. I think we have a right to know that information. I mean, we don't necessarily have a right to know, all the source code and the specific, all the details of necessarily why it crashed or what went wrong. But I think we should have a right to know what happened and where.
Well, and that's what NHTSA's standing general order says, right? You have to, you must report.
Yes.
And so now, is everybody complying? Presumably they are.
To the best we can tell, yeah. I mean, Tesla has submitted, reports on 273 crashes in the past 11 months. So that's a good start.
I mean, there are tens of thousands of crashes every month.
It's about 6.5 million crashes a year in the United States.
So, and worldwide, 1 million people die every year from auto crashes. So, doesn't mean these are not safe. They may be much safer than a human driver.
Well, it depends. It depends on, you have to do, there's a lot of different driving scenarios, a lot of different conditions, and not all are equally challenging. Some
but what this
are
doesn't
much
report
safer
is
than others.
How many lives were saved by ADAS that a human driver might have, caused a collision.
That's true. I mean, it's hard to prove a negative.
Yeah,
it's hard to prove a negative.
Yeah, you can't.
But,
we can't know that. I understand.
But
it may be the case that in fact that it's saving lives. We don't know. It may be.
We don't have any evidence to that effect, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
We need more data to understand. In the scenarios where these systems are being used, are they actually safer? Because driving in urban environments, at relatively slow speeds, you tend to have a lot of crashes, but they tend not to be fatal.
Right.
Most more than half of crashes are happening on rural roads.
There's a lot of idiots.
Oh yeah,
driving 78 miles an hour down the highway, causing wrecks, causing injuries and death. Humans. So I guess
we
that's
also
my
drive
question.
over 3 trillion miles a year.
Well, I
just in the
understand.
United States.
But we don't know, because we can't know if this is if ADAS is a positive or a negative.
Right.
We don't know that. That this information doesn't. So it's important to remember that. Will NHTSA use this information to regulate, or what's the intent of this?
That's the long-term plan. Up to now, they've never really collected data on the efficacy of these driver assist systems. So this is the first time that they're really getting, some hard data from the industry about how effective these systems actually are. And, so they're going to be taking a close look at this data to try to understand, where do they work? Where do these systems not work? And what, if anything, needs to be regulated? How how do we create standards for the performance of these systems?
We're somewhat immune because this happens all the time to the number of auto deaths, crashes, and incidents that happen all the time, constantly, and so it's an easy thing to be fooled. For instance, when you talk about electric vehicle fires, it scares people until they remember that there are gas vehicle fires all the time. It's not
200,000 a year.
200,000 a year. So it's really important to remember, 273 Tesla accidents, but put it in context. And this is the problem, is that we just really don't know if ADAS is a net positive or a negative. We can't know that. We don't know how many accidents were avoided by ADAS. My experience as a driver is, and by the way, I pay attention because I don't trust the damn thing. But
which is wise.
Which is the right, I think the right way to use it.
No one should be trusting this.
Yeah, no, that's the right way to use it. But it is a help. And there have been many times, and I bet you everybody watching has had an experience. If you have one of these cars that stops before you hit a car in front of you or a pedestrian, my daughter.
How often are you accidentally almost hitting pedestrians?
Well, not a lot, but it happens, right? Have you ever? Well, do you drive, Paris? First of all, do you drive? I think you bicycle, so you don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say I've been quiet during this as the Brooklyner who has an e-bike.
And believe me,
let's
if there weren't so many cars everywhere,
how many times have you almost been hit by a car?
Yeah, there you go.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I think that these new technologies where cars stop before they, I'll tell you what, my car has stopped me 2 or 3 times from backing into traffic. It has a big beeper that says there's cross traffic, and I go, whoa, I didn't see that one. So I think you can probably make a strong case that these things used properly are a net plus.
And I think things like blind spot monitoring and cross traffic alert are
huge.
They are truly valuable, and they are truly beneficial, and they're relatively low cost. But some of the other stuff, especially if you treat it as if it's self-driving,
that's
when
the key.
It's not.
That's why autopilot's a bad choice. We had there's a curve I drive down on the way to San Francisco that my Tesla would invariably try to pull me into the wall because it just got confused. But I know that, and I had my hands on the wheel, and when it started to veer out of the lane, I would pull it back into the lane and be fine.
But look at the case of Walter Wong, the Apple engineer.
That's tragic.
Who died in 2018.
Yeah.
He drove his Tesla every day. He had multiple instances of the
same
car
problem
on autopilot trying to pull him into that same spot on that median, that interchange, where he ultimately died. And he reported it to Tesla, and yet he continued to use the system.
That's the problem.
In a way, and that's again, it comes back to the human behavior because of the expectation, the erroneous expectation we have about the capabilities of these systems.
I have not. I'm just happy to say, been the cause of any accidents in my life. I've been in a few, but it's always rear-ended or somebody ran into me. But I do use those, especially on highway stop-and-go traffic. I've used the Tesla lane change mechanism. I never had a full self-driving Tesla, but I felt like those made me better drivers because it just, and by the way, one of the best features of automatic cruise control is it actually keeps more car lengths between you and the car in front of you. It keeps the proper amount. Humans never do, right? Humans are always tailgating because we can't adjust to the idea that you're not going to be able to stop in 60 feet. You're going too fast. But the car knows it. And so I let the car determine the distance from the car ahead of me. And
I'm trying to remember driver's ed. Aren't you, isn't like 6 seconds?
2 second rule.
2 second rule. Yeah. But how are you going to time that?
That distance depends on
your speed.
What speed you're going.
Right. The car does it perfectly.
A lot more ground in 2 seconds at 70 miles an hour than at 20.
The car, I'm presuming, does it perfectly. And so I trust it. And it's a lot farther than I would do otherwise.
Unless it's not using radar. If it's only using cameras, which is what Tesla does now, they stopped using radar, then it doesn't do a very good job of, and can't do a very good job of distance measurement. which is also why they have a problem with phantom braking, randomly slamming on the brakes when there's nothing there.
That happened to Lisa. Hated that. That happened to her all the time in her Tesla. In our Tesla. And she actually was the one who said you can never buy another Tesla because of a number of automated systems that failed her.
I like in the chat, Chumley says, if you leave the gap, a blue BMW will fill it.
Well, that, by the way, is exactly right. Because I leave it's sometimes it's 5 or 6 lengths. And inevitably somebody says, oh, that's nice. Thank you for letting me in. And now I have to slow down.
But your Mach-E, one of the features
it's using radar,
it actually has 5 radar sensors.
Yeah.
It's got a long-range radar in the front and then 4 medium-range corner radars that it uses to detect cut-ins. So if a blue BMW or anybody else goes in there, it will open up that gap and let them in.
I feel much safer in my Mach-E, but it doesn't attempt to do as much. I don't have Blue Cruise yet. It doesn't attempt to do as much. So.
The irony is that those people who are weaving in and out and switching lanes, I remember a study I read once that they don't gain any advantage.
Of course not.
Getting where they're going any faster. So yeah, maybe we should let the robots just drive us and
I'm going to get shot one of these days because when somebody does that, they weave in and out of traffic and they go by me and then they're at the stoplight and I catch up with them. I always wave at them. And I know that somebody's going to.
You don't want to do that.
No, road rage is real. Oh, do you have a driver's license, Paris, or you just completely can't? Or just?
Oh, I have a driver's license. Yeah.
So you could if you wanted to.
I know here. I could if I want to. I have no interest in driving in New York City.
Because you don't need, but you also don't need to. There's good mass transit. You don't need to. I would ride my bike everywhere if I didn't worry about people with ADAS hitting me.
The one thing I'm
it's
really
only because there's so many
excited
Teslas in your area.
Yeah, right. Go ahead,
I'm really
Paris.
excited to see what this technology does to the trucking industry over the next 5 years.
That's where we're going to see it.
I think that is the area where we're going to see leaps and bounds. Because, that is one area we're talking about fatality rates. Trucking is a dangerous endeavor. For the people around the truck, for truck drivers, they often end up falling asleep. They're paid very low wages. Having a robust, not quite autopilot, because I think that's still even going to be a ways off in 5-10 years, but having a robust driving assistant program would make such a noticeable difference in trucking fatalities.
Wall Street Journal article this week. Christopher Mims, self-driving big rigs are coming. Is America ready? Do these have safety drivers, or are they there's no human involved?
Today, they are still running with safety drivers, but by the end of 2023 or first half of 2024, there are several companies that are expecting to start driver out operations, at least in certain regions, like around Texas, around the Southwest, where the weather's good, the roads are relatively flat, you've got good visibility.
So there's an AI driving the truck the whole way.
It's a combination of AI and deterministic software.
Is there somebody back at the home office?
Just AI by its own.
Is there somebody at the home office who can take over or anything?
Yeah, they all of these systems, whether it's on a light duty vehicle or a big rig, have some sort of teleoperation or remote operation capability, so that if the truck gets into a situation that it doesn't know how to handle, it can basically call back to base and say, hey, I need you to take control. And so a remote operator will, in most cases, it'll be, looking at the sensor data and giving it some hints, and this is designed for things like construction zones or, other things like that, where it's not quite sure what it should be doing.
And what happens when it gets to the off-ramp? Does the driver take over, or does the...
No, well, if there's no driver in the vehicle, there's nobody to take over. So these systems right now mostly are being designed to go hub to hub, where the depot is located relatively close to the off ramp. So within a half mile to a mile of the off ramp. So it'll take the off ramp, pull into a depot, and then maybe a driver will jump, depending on what it is. They may transfer freight to another vehicle or to smaller vehicles for last mile delivery, or a human driver may take over to do the final leg of the trip.
Wow. And I presume that these AIs will be less aggressive than human drivers. That they'll be willing to
no Mad Max modes.
Yeah, and they're going to follow the speed limit, and they're going to stay in the right. You know, the worst thing is when you see a big rig passing other big rigs or other cars even because he wants to go the speed limit. Terrifies me.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of a part of the issue is, I guess, based on the fact that you have human drivers that, of course, have to sleep and oftentimes are being paid, you know, by the mile or being paid based on whether or not they can get there in a certain amount of time. So you have all of these things baked into the system that often lead to folks being forced to drive on little sleep and speed and pass cars on the left-hand side when they shouldn't be. If you have just a autonomous vehicle taking these sort of trips, it should be all baked in. There shouldn't be any unnecessary speeding because it is leaving from point A to point B with no stops.
And I want it to be passive. I don't want it to be aggressive. I want it to just say, okay, we'll get there eventually. Which is, by the way, how I drive.
If the truck's, if it's driving at the truck speed limit, it's not, the autonomous system's not going to get tired. It's not going to get distracted.
Yeah.
Human truck drivers they're limited to 10 hours a day of driving.
Right. And,
then they have to have there's a mandated break period before they can drive again. And they use electronic data loggers now for that. So, automating that long haul part, there's a shortage of truck drivers, which is part of the supply chain problem we have, and there has been a shortage. I mean,
there's been a shortage since like the 70s or 80s. It's been an issue since they deregulated the industry because it's a really difficult job.
It's hard to recruit drivers. They don't want to. No, people don't want to do this job, or most people don't want to do this job.
Blame that commie,
or at least for the amount that they're being paid, because it's like pennies often.
It's Jimmy Carter's fault, and I blame him for deregulating.
I always blame Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy.
In my general life.
Somebody in the chat room says, being a trucker is a terrible job since that commie Carter deregulated the industry. I love it.
What if they?
That's that voice for the 67-year-old.
Yeah, same one. By the way, I'm 65. I should not mock 67-year-olds. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Owen.
Oh, sorry. What if they took these trucks and linked them together and what if they put them on a dedicated?
I believe that's called
You're describing
a
a train.
Yeah, it's called a train.
I'm just waiting for some entrepreneur.
No, that's a ridiculous idea. What you need to do is dig a hole in the ground and put them in there.
There you go. Tunnel all the way. Let's take a little break. I do want to talk about AI because, of course, Lambda has been in the news, and we've talked about that already on the show. But I feel like it's going to sneak up on us. And that's what really we're talking about. It's sneaking up on us bit by bit. So let's take a little break. We'll do that in just a second. I want to talk a little bit about userway.org. Very proud to have Userway on our website at twit.tv because, after all, not only do you have a legal obligation to users with disabilities, you have a moral obligation and a business reason to make your site accessible. Watch. Userway.org. I'm talking about making your website ADA compliant, accessible. Not only is it the right thing to do, because you're opening up your website to a much larger group, 60 million plus people, you have a responsibility to make your site accessible. It's a public entity, so you got to make it accessible. And with Userway, it's easy. That was my biggest concern was, I can't afford it or it's going to be too hard. No, Userway is really affordable and it's really easy. And incredible, it's AI powered. It tirelessly enforces all the accessibility guidelines, the WCAG guidelines. And I love this, so do our engineers. It's one line of JavaScript. That's it. Because Userway is so good, it's used by more than 1 million websites, including the big guys, Coca-Cola, Disney, eBay. These are companies that really have to be accessible, and Userway can do that. As you get bigger, they scale with you. If they can handle Disney, absolutely they can handle you. They make best-in-class, enterprise-level accessibility tools available to you, your small or medium-sized business. And then as you scale, you need Userway, and you're ready. It just makes business sense. Some of the biggest problems, nav menus, very difficult. So the way this works, if you're blind or you're using accessibility tools, there is what they call an accessibility layer. That's what the screen reader sees. So really what UserWay does is make sure that all the information available to the front page to the sighted user is available to the browser in the accessibility layer. It changes colors. Now, you've got your Pantone color for your business. Of course, we do too. It doesn't change that, but it adjusts hue and luminance so it's easier for people with vision issues to read. So UserWay will generate alt tags. That's one of the reasons it needs AI. It can actually see the picture and generate an alt tag that matches the picture automatically. You can go in if you want. You can modify it, of course. It fixes violations like vague links, fixes broken links, makes sure that your website uses accessible colors, and you'll get a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed on your website so you know exactly what it did. Plus, you can work with it. UserWay integrates seamlessly with your site builder software. Let UserWay help your business meet its compliance goals, improve the experience for your users. UserWay can make any website fully accessible, ADA compliant, and everyone who visits can browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It's a great way to show your brand's commitment to the millions of people with disabilities. It's the right thing to do. UserWay can make any website fully accessible and ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly and customize it to fit their needs. It's also a perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. We're really proud to use UserWay on our page. Just go to the bottom and you'll see that Vitruvian man. Click on that and you'll see how many different ways you can make the page. Everybody can make the page easier to read. Userway.org/twit. Get 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. Userway.org/twit. We thank him so much for the support of Twit. Paris Martineau is here from The Information. Consistently the best $400 a year I spend subscribing.
Lovely.
I love The Information. You guys do such a good job. Will you ever get to do the Saturday piece? Because I love that.
I've been meaning to. It just requires me taking a minute away from the news. We've started doing kind of a weekend section at The Information, which is kind of magazine-y.
Yeah, I really
it's
like
fantastic.
it. Yeah. This week, San Francisco is back, sort of. I chose to be intentionally paranoid. Adam Saplinski navigates AWS into a cloudy future. So your startup died. This is one of my favorite stories from Corey.
Just send it to Christina
What do you do with all
Warren.
that swag?
Yeah, what do you do with all that swag? Yeah, send it to Christina Warren, of course. Inside the crypto stunt factory, ABCs of summer. Good job. I love The Information. Yeah, I want to see some of your stuff in there. You're busy, I guess. You got,
Yeah, I love that Kate Clark, she just did this piece on kind of San Francisco being back, going into startup land.
Is it back, though?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't live there. If you ask me, probably dead. But
yeah. It's one of the most beautiful cities. I love San Francisco. I lived there for a decade. Loved living there. But that was a long time ago. 30 years
bring it back to our, I think, pre-opening chat. San Francisco features heavily in Horizon Forbidden West. A game that everyone should play, except for it's post-apocalyptic San Francisco.
Yeah. I love San Francisco. And there's some things that make San Francisco fantastic. It's 7 square miles, so it can't go beyond those borders. It's got beautiful views. It's got the bay. It's got the Golden Gate Bridge. It's got great neighborhoods. It's of late been a little challenging to live there. I think some of that is because of income inequality. There's all these fabulously wealthy tech startup folks, and then there's a lot of
I think it has
people.
to do with what you just said. It's 7 square miles. You've got very specific housing laws that are going to restrict the amount of kind of dense residential structures. So, of course, housing is very expensive because of that and a number of other reasons. And
it's kind of like Brooklyn.
A place to be. Kind of like Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't cast too much shade because Brooklyn's going to have the same problem, I think. At some point.
Brooklyn. I mean,
it's getting totally gentrified.
I think there was a recent report that the average apartment rent in Manhattan is $4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom, and that 1 out of 4 new rentals has a bidding war going on for the monthly rent.
Wow.
And I know anecdotally people who say they had their apartment, the rent raised by $1,000. They went to go look for a new place. they were like put down their application for an apartment. They were like, oh, sorry, someone took it because they're willing to pay $1,000 more than the listed price.
That's $4,000. That's almost 3 times my mortgage payment.
It's actually very close to what we pay here in the Bay Area, anywhere in the Bay Area. It's so expensive to live in the Bay
Love to
Area.
just throw my money away every month. It's
Owen Thomas loves the city, right? Owen Thomas, senior editor at Protocol.
Leo, I was practically late to the podcast because there were so many people on Columbus Avenue. There was a street fair, granted.
I love North Beach. North Beach is. I used to live on Green and Montgomery. I love North Beach.
I mean, you would not have believed it, and
It was beautiful. I bet.
it was, beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
Streets were absolutely packed for this
Yeah.
fair. Now the thing is, though, you get past the Transamerica Pyramid, and I mean it's a Sunday, so there wouldn't be a lot of people downtown normally. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is where we are in the financial district, it is really busy actually on a weekday. But when you cross Market Street down, and get into Soma, it does get a little dead, like around around Salesforce Tower. There, a lot of the big tech companies who became the primary tenants of these office towers in the past decade, they're all on permanent remote or like hybrid, very light on the office plans, and
maybe nobody wants to be there when the Millennium Tower falls over on them.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, there's another tower that had like a flood. I don't know how
The
I don't know
Millennium
how that
Tower,
happened.
we should explain, is sinking because much of San Francisco is built on landfill from the gold rush days, and they're trying to shore it up by digging underneath and putting sticks in there effectively.
They didn't.
The phrase that the Millennium Tower is sinking into the landfill underneath San Francisco just really says a lot.
Sinking and tilting.
Yeah, well, part of that's why it's tilting, because one part's sinking faster than the other part.
It's the new Leaning Tower of Pisa.
It's very Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, I can't wait to play this game. Now that I know it's San Francisco figures large. That's hysterical.
Takes a little bit to get there, but
okay. Well, that gives me something to shoot for. That's the first one or the second one?
that's the second one.
Okay, the new one. Okay.
Yeah, but there are a lot of other cities. Like there's post-apocalyptic new, like Las Vegas.
Oh man, Las Vegas featured heavily in Fallout, and that was a lot of fun to wander through the
The
post-apocalyptic.
titular Las Vegas.
Yeah. Great to have you, Owen, senior editor of Protocol, which has become one of my everyday must-reads. Really a great journal, and it's free. No paywall, which I'm very grateful for. I do subscribe.
Just sign up for our newsletters.
Yep,
That's
yep.
all we ask right now.
Yep, it's great. And also Sam Abul-Samad, my car guy, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. He, with Robbie and Nicole, does that great Wheel Bearings podcast. If you love automobiles, you must get Wheel Bearings. Speaking of wheels, you were talking about carbon fiber wheels. Is that the next big thing?
Yeah, there's been a few cars that have been built with carbon fiber wheels. You can
Not
get them
rubber?
right now.
Or just the wheels, not the tires?
The wheel itself.
Okay.
So it's still rubber tires, but the wheel itself, instead of being made out of aluminum or steel, is made out of carbon fiber.
What's the benefit of that? It's lighter?
It's a lot lighter. It's stronger. It's actually more resistant to damage. And for EVs, because efficiency is so important, the rotational inertia is even more important than just moving.
Who would have thought of that? That's interesting.
And so I think when I was talking to the CEO a couple of weeks ago, he told me they're working on they're going to have their wheels on a new SUV coming out later this year. Saves about 60 kilograms, which is about 140 pounds.
Yeah.
Especially at the wheels. As we get these bigger and bigger wheels on cars, those 22 and 24 inch wheels. You ever pick one of those things up? They get pretty heavy. And so, carbon fiber is an important material for that sort of thing.
You know what else is lighter? Your stipple. I've been stippled. Paris, you did this in your spare time?
I did this during the ad read.
What do you have, a woodcut machine? How did you do that?
I do. I've just, got a little man with a wood chopper in the background of my apartment. No, the Wall Street Journal apparently has something on your member page, if you have an account, where they have like a AI that will stipple you. So I uploaded a photo of you on the internet to the stipple AI.
So that's an official WSJ stipple.
I believe they call it a head cut, technically, if there's any
head cut.
WSJ heads out there.
Is that under member benefits?
I think so, genuinely. It's called AI Portrait for members only. Create your portrait.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I subscribe. So thank you, Rupert. And thank you,
That's what the Murdochs are working on.
Yeah. Stipples
all that
for
Fox
everyone.
News money.
Yeah.
Goes
Destroying
right to
democracy
stipples.
and head cuts.
Yeah.
Wow. So we've already talked on Twit last week, and on Twig, we spent a lot of time talking about Lambda and the determination by one Google employee, former now, I think, Google employee, that Lambda had become sentient. And then Google saying it's not sentient. And it's obvious to anybody who's ever, played with this stuff that it isn't, in fact, sentient. But it's pretty impressive. But it also makes me start to think, and I've seen some articles along this line, that AI is slowly creeping up on us. Do you think that, I'll start with you, Owen. Do you think that in the next few years, more and more things besides self-driving vehicles are going to be powered by, real AI, not general intelligence, and not sentient intelligence, but AI that's doing stuff that we would normally think of as humans?
I think like 90% of customer service is headed.
It probably already is, frankly.
Like you're,
right?
yeah, you're chatting with someone or something. That seems like a kind of obvious application. Rather than making people like search for something on your website, you just chat them through what, essentially.
Is this going to be one
search flow?
One of those technologies like ATMs kind of crept up on us? When's the last time you went into a bank? Right? You guys are too young to remember. Maybe Sam, you remember. If you wanted money, the way you got money is you would go into a bank.
Your passbook.
Yeah. You would either give them your passbook or write a check, and a human would count out money. Now, nobody does it anymore. We're just like ATMs have just kind of gradually. I remember using my first ATM at Bank of America in the 80s, and it was really primitive. It was like 40 characters by 8 lines.
That's just a Mechanical Turk.
Yeah.
Was there like a little man inside?
It was really, really
money?
primitive. But you could get money, and that was like, at the time you went, wow, this is pretty cool. Now it's I don't think, Paris, you probably ever went into a
I went into a bank often. I would have to get checks.
Okay.
I would have to deposit.
You still got to
my
go in there to
paychecks
set up your account.
Do you write checks?
I do, because when I FOIA police departments,
Oh,
a
you gotta
lot
send them a
of
check.
municipal, local governments do not take online payment.
Plus, you're
I
kind
have
of
a checkbook
retro.
for that.
You have your
I am
retro
kind of retro.
speakers,
I
your
have my
turntable. Yeah.
cool speakers. I've got
Yeah,
a
your
turntable.
sequin
I write
mannequins.
checks.
Yeah.
Checks are back in, guys.
Oh, yeah. All the hipsters in Dumbo are writing checks now.
Yeah.
Leo, I'll do you one better. How many people are not going to ATMs because they don't use cash?
Who uses cash? That's right. That's
Right?
the next thing.
True.
They're tapping
I
their
just
phones.
tap my phone or my
why do you
watch.
need cash?
I don't. You know what? The reason I get cash, I do go to the ATM once a week, because I like to tip service workers with cash so that they don't have to declare it and give the government any of it.
Once we go to a U.S. central bank digital currency,
It's not going to happen anymore. Here's a Bitcoin.
Yeah, you
Thanks
can't
for the
tip
burger.
in Miami coin.
Yeah, Miami coin. Here's a I wish I could though.
I mean, you may not want to. Yeah, exactly.
I still write a couple of checks a year.
Exactly.
And then occasionally I have to deposit a check for something
I
been paid
Venmo,
for.
I Zelle, I PayPal, I credit card. I do a lot of tapping on my Apple Watch. It's funny how
Speaking
that's
of
crept
which-
up on us, really, right? I mean, that's 3 years ago. I mocked it. I said, well, how is that easier than getting a credit card out of your wallet? It's not that much of a difference.
It's so much easier.
It's so much easier.
I've done a similar thing recently.
What's that, Ferris?
I've done a similar thing recently, and just that I recently, from Dangerous Things, the biohacker website, I recently got a Proxmark Easy. I think it's actually right here.
Wait a minute. What is going on? I don't know what that is.
Clone my work ID card. If you're our building security department, don't listen to this. To clone my work ID card, and I put it on this ring. So now all I have to do to get into my work is just tap the ring. It's very fun.
You have a magic ring?
I do. The magic ring.
The magic ring. Magic Mi Fare 1K. So, okay, here's another example. I bought something like this on Kickstarter years ago. Did
it ever arrive?
It came, but it never did anything. But it was the same idea, right? So this has an RFID chip in it, and it's got this MyFair 1K Magic Gen 2 chip, which I guess is reprogrammable.
Yeah, so it has 2 different chips in it. They're reprogrammable. You use this thing. It's kind of like a sniffer. Oh, I need to hold it up. You use this thing. You connect it to your computer and put your ID on it. You scan for the correct frequency. Copy most of these chips are, I didn't realize, very insecure. They're just like 9 numbers. You copy those 9 numbers over to this.
Clear.
And it works.
Okay. But you can only do one thing with it, or 2 things if it's got 2 chips, right?
2 things, yeah.
So that ring can let you into work, but nothing else.
And I mean, if I lived in a fancy building where I had to have a key fob, it would work for that. If I had a garage, you could, put your garage door clicker.
Could I do my car key fob on that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It depends what sort of the chip is. The one thing I know you can't do on these yet is payments.
Right.
You can already open your car with your phone anyway, Leo.
Yeah, but it's unreliable. I've ended up, a lot of Fords have keypads on the door. I've ended up just using that. And I just, you have to look around, make sure nobody's getting your number as they get in the car. But
I'd be worried that it'd wear out the keys and then somebody could just get in my car by looking at it.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, yeah, because I don't ever wash my car, so there's definitely marks in the dust. But what I mostly worry about is if it doesn't work, and one time it didn't, and then you're really out of luck. You can't, it's like, I can't do anything. I can't get in my car. So this does 125 kilohertz work badges, key fobs, and access cards. So they have to be on that.
And the little device is called a Proxmark 3 Easy.
So you need the reader too so you can get that as well.
And even for someone, I don't code, but I had to learn some basics for this, and it was really easy.
186
online
bucks.
Walkthrough.
186.84 for both the reader and the kit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
need the access kit, but I use the Proxmark 3. I am living in the future. The other day I did it, and there were some other people in the elevator, and they were all fancy businessmen in their suits, and they were like, "Oh my God, what is that?" I was like,
how do you do it? Is there a little show offy like you go?
I had to twist a little bit to get in the right side, and I was like, wave, just a wave, and then I tap it. It's much better than getting your card out of your wallet. I'll tell you that.
Wow. We've all learned something today. Maybe not everybody, but I have Dangerous Things magic rings.
I know. I'm about a year away from getting a chip implanted in my thumb.
I know. Why not just get a chip?
Because then I'm like, there's going to be a better chip.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What am I going to do with the old chip?
Well, you just take it out.
There'll always be a better chip. That's my worry.
It's like the USB-C
the same thing with the USB-C.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like I can't, go in on one.
So this is what I mean. We're kind of gradually creeping up on Horizon New West. We're gradually creeping up.
I mean, you need to learn a bit more about what happens at the end of that game before you make it. But I mean, yes.
Well,
for those who know,
it's the 31st century, so we got a little time. But for somebody as old as me who's watched this go from a Timex Sinclair to magic rings from Dangerous Things, I'm kind of living in a magical future. And do you think it's accelerating? Do you feel like it's accelerating?
Certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah I think that probably whatever the technology powering this is only going to get smaller and more efficient, assuming we don't continue to have cascading supply chain issues.
Well, that is true.
Probably going to get, easier to get.
That's the other thing we're learning is that we're living on the very tip of a house of cards, tottering.
We're living in the Millennium Tower and we're sinking into garbage, but only one side.
But if we make it, it's going to be great. But it's possible it's going to collapse in a heap. We're just kind of holding on, saying, please, let's get to the future. So I'm really thinking that there will be a cliff at one point where we'll wake up and go, yeah, a lot of the, like the temperature in my house is controlled by a limited, but AI. Things are starting to happen that an AI controls. Do you think that's going to happen, Sam? I mean, the cars are really the forefront of this. NVIDIA is designing all of these chips that are becoming more and more powerful. Self-driving is definitely the cutting edge of this.
But AI has very significant limitations. And the truth is, going back to the Lambda thing, it's good at mimicking intelligence. It's not intelligence, and it still doesn't work the same way that the human brain does in perceiving the world around us. And like in self-driving cars, you have to give it guardrails, because it can go very wrong in very unexpected ways. For a lot of stuff, like things like customer service chatbots, yeah, it's fine. If it makes a mistake, it's not a big deal. Nobody dies. In a safety critical system like an airplane or a car, it's a very different scenario. And so you have to build in those rules-based guidelines that say, if the AI makes the wrong decision, you're not going to allow it to go past these limits to try to minimize the consequences of those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always true, is that when new technologies come along, you get both the positives and the negatives, right? And and in fact, you don't really know what the negatives are going to be until you're soaking in it. And then you go, this is not fun. Or
well, another aspect of this is, we keep they keep realizing that the computing power that we have is still nowhere near enough to do what they're trying to do. If you go back 6 years or so with NVIDIA, for example, when I think it was about 2015 when they launched their first Drive PX computer for developing automated driving. That thing had about 1.5 or 2 teraops of computing capability. A couple of years later, they launched the Xavier chip, which had 30 teraops, and they thought, okay, this is going to be good enough to do level 4 autonomy. Then a couple of years after that, they launched the Orin, which has 250 teraops. So yeah, this is going to be good enough to do level 4 autonomy. Now, last year, they launched the Atlan, which has 1,000 teraops, and that this is going to be the one. So we don't know what we don't know, and all this stuff is proving to be a lot harder to do than anybody really imagined. Yeah. And we need more and more computing power. Eventually, we'll probably get there, but we're not there yet.
It is simultaneously harder than we thought, and it's happening faster than we expect. So it's kind of a weird stew pot of expectations we're sitting in. Former Amazon engineer convicted of stealing 100 million records from the Capital One hack, one of the biggest security breaches ever in the U.S. Paige Thompson wrote a tool to scan Amazon Web Services for misconfigured accounts, as one does. She found Capital One's database of users, infiltrated it, downloaded 100 million people's data in the U.S., 6 million in Canada. She says, I'm an ethical hacker. I was just pen testing. The jury said, no, you're a hacker, and convicted her of a pretty significant, she's got up to 20 years of prison time she's facing for wire fraud, and up to 5 years for each charge of illegally accessing a protected computer. She could go to jail for a long time. Sentencing is in September. You remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that the Justice Department said that, well, we're not going to use the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act to abuse people as we have in the past. Very famously, is why Aaron Schwartz killed himself, because he was being hounded by the feds. Her lawyers said she used the same tools and methods that ethical hackers use. But I think when you download 100 million records, even if you don't do anything with it, maybe you shouldn't have done that. What do you think? Any extenuating circumstances? I remember
downloading it is a bit of a complicated way to go about it. Yeah.
I remember when this happened, I was really suspicious because we never saw this information on the dark web. And I said, well, to me, that means it's a nation state that isn't trying to make money off of this information, but use somebody like China or Russia using it, for further compromat or, just whatever it is China does with all that TikTok information. But
is it
no,
a nation state or is it Page?
Or it's Page. It's either Page Thompson or a nation state.
I mean, also, she was working at Amazon. Did Amazon ask her to do this?
Right.
I think that's, very questionable.
There's a gray area. We have a good friend, Randall Schwartz, who for a long time hosted this the Floss show for us, the open source show. He's a Perl wizard. He also was convicted of hacking many years ago, worked at Intel, and thought there was a security issue, not in his division, but in another division. Pen tested it. I don't think he did anything. He's always said, I wasn't hacking. I was exploring, and I found a flaw, and I reported it to Intel, and he was immediately arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. So there is a long history of, we don't want you, probing these weaknesses.
Security through obscurity.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if that's what happened here.
Right. I mean, you don't want to discourage security research.
Right.
But, is it creating this kind of, umbrella under which people who are not doing security research can hide?
Incidentally, 10 years later, and I should add this to the story, it's very important. 10 years after his conviction, he was cleared and his conviction was expunged. So I only tell this story because he tells it. He's very public about it. But that gives you, a really good example of, and Randall was always that way. When we used to go on geek cruises, I've gone on geek cruises with him. And at the time, the cruise ship's Wi-Fi was not encrypted. So I remember him coming up and handing me a piece of paper saying, "Is this your email password?" I went, "It is, yes." He said, "Well, I thought you should know." So, he's doing me a favor, but it's also like, I mean, I can see why people might have been kind of freaked out. He used a program at Intel to crack the passwords of colleagues at the Intel Supercomputer Systems Division.
Who set up a geek cruise and thought unencrypted Wi-Fi is the move?
This was back in the day when nobody knew any better.
People were building their internet with pencils and rocks.
Yeah. Well, you can tell it was because there is no email system in the world today that doesn't use HTTPS. You can't interact with it and send a password in the clear, right? I mean, if you log into your Gmail, that password's not floating through the air, even if your Wi-Fi is unencrypted. But back in those days, both the Wi-Fi was unencrypted and it was HTTP. It was an unencrypted connection.
This reminds me of the tales I've heard about DEF CON, where
yes,
if you go in there and your OPSEC is not 100% tight, like there are people just waiting to pounce.
That's when I changed my password from Monkey123 to Monkey1234, and it's been secure ever since.
Extra digit made all the difference.
It's the difference between weak and strong.
Apple is unionizing. This has got to be scary for Tim Cook, but I would say, if you don't want your employees to unionize, treat them right. Apple workers at Towson, Maryland's Apple store, the first Apple entity to unionize. 2/3 of employees voted to unionize, even though, Apple tried really hard to talk them out of it, even recording a video from Apple's retail head, Deidre O'Brien, saying, "We're a family."
That argument always really works well when it comes to workers uprising.
We move quickly. You don't need anybody in between you and us negotiating. They even
was that video taken from Apple's giant glass headquarters?
Yes. And at some point, somebody running along in track shorts threw a giant hammer through it. No, that's another video. They did raise their wages from $20 an hour to $22, the starting at wage, although you might make the argument they did that in response to the unionization effort, proving that Apple could have done that a long time ago and didn't. They are now a member of CORE, which stands for, I get it, Apple CORE, the Apple Coalition of Organized Retail Employees, which will be part of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. So that's okay. I'm in the Screen Actors
Which makes sense
Guild.
for the Genius Bar workers who are fixing your
aerospace. Sure.
Yeah. Machinists.
I'm just, bravo. This has been a trend. Starbucks has fought unionizations. They've hired, as Apple did, law firms to, discourage unionization. And yet Starbucks stores are one by one becoming unionized. And this is the first Apple store to become unionized. And I think that's fine. I think that's great. If that's, good.
I think it'd be really fun to look at how much they're paying these big law firms and union busting companies, and then divide that by the number of workers that they have in these one stores and compare that with the $2 an hour wage increase.
Exactly. Well, imagine what Amazon has spent to keep the unions out of the warehouses. I mean, it's
so much.
That's your beat, right? You cover that.
Yeah, they've spent a considerable amount, and they really screwed the pooch with the New York warehouse. And it seems like that trend could continue.
Are they going to get in trouble with the NLRB or?
I mean, they're trying to right now. They are fighting tooth and nail against kind of the unionization that had happened at their New York City warehouse, specifically arguing that the NLRB was acting in a biased manner in addition to the union workers acting in a biased manner. It's a very complicated affair.
Wow. The National Labor Relations Board, which protects your right to vote for a union and does very much circumscribe what a company can do to fight a union, although companies like Amazon have these compulsory meetings where they, harangue you, basically, and give you all the reasons. We're family. Why would you want to do this to your family?
Jeff Bezos is your Big Papa.
Yeah, let Big Papa choose your salary.
Can I throw out a crazy idea here?
Yes.
Could unionization be the best thing that ever happened to Amazon? Because they have a labor crisis that is so bad. They did an internal study about where they're going to run out of workers they can even hire. And, they're already there in some markets. And they're thinking about where they open up a warehouse. They're even studying, like, what's the labor market there? They've got crazy turnover, of more than 100%, which means they churn, like the average employee doesn't even last a year in an Amazon warehouse. So maybe if these unions come along and insist on better working conditions, Amazon might save more money in, not having to hunt down, new recruits and train them than they'll ever pay in increased salary and benefits that they negotiate with unions. Just a crazy scenario.
Why doesn't Amazon do that?
That's a really good idea.
Well, the reason, from Amazon's perspective, the reason why they're anti-union, despite, is because Amazon's whole ecosystem, it's kind of like our current supply chain crisis. It was all kind of hanging on by a single thread. Amazon at every quarter would increase the number of workers or decrease it dramatically depending on their kind of needs. During the fourth quarter of the year, the holiday season, Amazon needs a considerable amount. Like, they have to add hundreds of thousands of people to their workforce every fourth quarter. And then normally the first quarter, they fire a lot of those people or pay them to quit is kind of the program, or they'll pay you to never work at an Amazon place again. But they can't do that if there's a union. They can't continue to kind of have their cake and eat it too when it comes to the labor market of just have enough employees for every single moment and not have too many during the other quarters if they have an intermediate force that is looking out for the benefits of the workers and looking to make sure that these workers stay on for more than a year, because that would mean you'd have this huge surplus of workers, which isn't good from an efficiency standpoint.
Because you cover Amazon, Paris, you know better than most, what's like to work at Amazon and whether it's a fair company, a good company. Let me ask you, given what you know, do you shop at Amazon?
I will occasionally buy stuff from Amazon, but I also, selfishly, I think as someone who covers Amazon reports in a lot of aspects of it, if anybody can shop at Amazon, it can be me.
It's part of your job.
It's part of my job, just in the sense that sometimes I'll be like looking through something on Amazon. I'm like, I've noticed something different about the way this is working.
Yeah.
Let me figure out the inside story
you
of that.
need to, yeah.
Having that brand exposure kind of helps. But I also, I don't know. I think that ultimately all corporations are a bit inherently evil if you're thinking about it on a purely human
big
goodness.
Yeah.
Big corporations. Yeah.
Not
the way
Twit.
that, not Twit, all companies but Twit.
Yeah.
Big corporations with larger acronyms than four letters.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that
I feel really guilty buying stuff at Amazon, but I'm afraid I'm addicted.
But I think the thing is, like, people say that, but then they go buy furniture from Wayfair.
It wouldn't
or
be
they
any
buy
better to go to
from,
Wayfair or Walmart. I agree.
Like, they buy from the other options that we have are often
Walmart's
treating
worse.
workers in a similar way.
Yeah.
It depends on what measure you're using to define worse or better in these sort of situations. But you're like, I don't know, the whole thing with Shein, the fast fashion company. It's like, we don't know where these pieces of clothing are coming from.
You gotta figure it's made by slave labor in a camp in China. You know it is. A $2 shirt. There's no way.
Wired had a really great I think it was maybe a profile piece about Shein, kind of going through how it became what it was. It was in the last couple of months. And Shein at a certain, or at least people who were very senior in Shein and spoke to this reporter, admitted they don't really know where a lot of their stuff comes from. They just kind of have contracts with a lot of different companies, and they just say, give us 100 of something. And then if that 100 sells out, they're like, give us more.
Right.
And they don't have that much of an insight into where it's coming from. And I think that's happening all throughout the supply chain. And obviously Amazon is one example of that, but there are also so many. But the reason why I find it fascinating to focus on Amazon is because it is obviously such a huge presence in our life. And focusing on this one aspect of it is obviously you notice trends that have a larger impact than smaller companies.
And half the time when you buy from Amazon, literally half the time you're buying from a third party that probably has buying its stuff from Shein and Shein-like companies, right? So, yeah. I get it both ways. I'm participating in this marvelous capitalist economy, full throttle. Let's take a little break. We're close to. We've been going on for a while. I just love these guys, and I don't want to stop talking. Sam Abul-Samed, wheelbearings.media, Paris Martineau, the information from protocol.com, the wonderful Owen Thomas. As always, a great and thoughtful show. Brought to you today, as often it is, by ZipRecruiter. We use ZipRecruiter to hire. Summer is here, packed with activities. And frankly, it's also a time when a lot of people are looking for work, students coming out of school and so forth. If you're a business owner and you need to hire, you probably don't want to spend your free time going through unqualified candidates when you could be spending time at the pool or barbecuing. It's Father's Day. Enjoy, redo your deck, do some gardening, go on vacation. That's why you need ZipRecruiter to find great candidates. They do the work for you. And now you could try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter's technology finds the right candidates for your job and then tells you about them so you can invite your top choices to apply. And let me tell you, and I can tell you from personal experience, when you invite somebody to apply for a job, they look at you as like, oh, you want me? You like me? You bet. They show up for the interview. They become great employees. No wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day, and they hire the best people fast. ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2 satisfaction ratings. As of January 1st, 2022, you can get that person, get that job filled, and I know there are a lot of jobs that need to be filled fast, and go back to the barbecue. This summer, let ZipRecruiter do the work. Try it for free. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter.com/TWIT. ZipRecruiter, we love you. Thank you for doing a great job for us. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. What a great week this was on Twit. We've got a mini movie to show you the highlights.
Now that's a booming voice, everyone.
Quick, talk about him. Say things about him. He doesn't have his headphones in yet.
He looks like he needs this brush that's over here.
Oh, yeah. Is that weathered or grizzled? What are we going to call it?
That's weathered.
Previously on Twit.
I didn't know they were dissing
Security
me.
Now.
I stumbled upon a proof that we are indeed living in a simulation. When you attempt to plug in one of those original USB-A style plugs, the plug's orientation would be wrong only half the time. The first time we attempt to plug in one of those, it is almost always wrong. Always, isn't it?
Windows Weekly.
We feel like the Insider program and the Windows team needs to come forward and do some explaining about how are you rolling out features to people.
Look, if you're going to disappoint people, do it because you didn't disrupt things. You're creating a platform here. This isn't like a balloon store. It's not supposed to be fun.
This Week in Google.
Nonsense on stilts. Lambda is not sentient, not even slightly. It's just a matter of time before a deep fake is created that's so good that we don't know if it's a deep fake or not.
We have empathy modules.
I think you gave yourself away there when you said we have empathy modules.
Twit.
Stacy, is there anything you want to tell us?
Higginbot has spoken.
We have empathy modules. Empathy modules are on full. Turn them up all the way. Couple more stories. I want to wrap it up, but I can't resist saying thank God the White House has launched a task force to curb online abuse. I think we consider this problem solved.
I thought Melania
I haven't
Trump
been
had
abused
that
in at least 30 seconds.
I don't know what a task force is going to do to solve online abuse, but I think it's probably going to do no more than Elon Musk will. Let's put it that way. Let's see, what else? Cory Doctorow, great piece. By the way, I love Cory's blog. We're going to get Cory on Twitter again very soon. Great piece about Prop 22. Remember this in the California? Oh, and I'm sure you remember it well. Uber and Lyft spent hundreds of millions of dollars to convince California voters that people like working for Uber and Lyft, and you should pass a proposition that allows gig work. Remember that? Proposition passed by a landslide. Turns out, Cory says, the lawyers who drafted it really blew it. It's unconstitutional. And the California Superior Court has voided Prop 2 in its entirety, the $225 million that Uber and Lyft spent to get it passed. Wasted. In fact, I think they took that same legislation and went to Massachusetts. They probably have gone to New York as well. They love this idea. Anyway, Cory says, I can't imagine how you go ahead with a $100 million ballot initiative campaign without gaming out how it'll play in court. I mean, sure, your boss is going to freak out if you fairly describe the ballot initiative's lopsided language in the voter guide summary, but the lawyer's job is to explain that failing to do so could wreck the whole thing, and it did.
Hey, listen, a lot of people got big bonuses that year.
That's right.
All that matters.
That's all that it is. It's that short-term thing.
Short-term gains, you know.
Yep.
But by
the
Uber
stock
standards, blowing $225 million is peanuts. I mean, they've burned through tens of billions over
That's
the
a good
last
point.
decade.
That's
It's not
a good
like they're
point.
trying to make money here.
Yeah.
But
Have you watched We Crashed? Have you been watching We Crashed with Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto?
No, because my life is thinking about tech companies,
wouldn't
and
be
I can't do it in
entertaining,
my
would it?
free time.
Yeah. Plus, you know so much, you'd look at it and go, well, that's wrong. But I have to say, it is hysterical. Just watch the first episode. It's the end. They start with the end.
What service is that one on?
Apple TV.
Apple TV, yeah.
Oh, have you watched another one? Another one you can't watch?
I really got into Hulu's The Dropout.
Oh,
but my husband refused to watch it with me.
What?
Because he says,
wow.
You talk about that stuff too much as it is.
Yeah, he has the same thing.
Have you shown him
Paris
the video of her dancing in the little office?
She dances like Elaine
so
in Seinfeld.
It was really good.
And the
with
deep
the
voice.
puffy vest on.
And the puffy vest. I guess her sentencing, they finished the Sonny trial. Did he get convicted? It's like.
No, it's, let's see, final arguments actually are Tuesday.
Oh.
They got pushed back.
This week it'll finish. Okay.
Her sentencing is not until, I believe, September.
Right, this fall. Yeah. So Sonny Balwani, her one-time boyfriend and chief operating officer, I think, at Theranos, was also tried. But they were tried separately. So
correct.
We shall see what happens. Good news, you don't have to go naked into the metaverse. Meta is launching this week a digital clothing store where you can purchase outfits for your avatar.
This is the lamest thing I've ever seen in my life.
But wait.
This looks worse than Second Life.
Wait, it does. This is a funny thing. 20 years ago, we could do this. But these are not just any outfits. These are from Balenciaga, Prada, Tom Brown. These are designer. Look, it says Balenciaga on her designer sweatshirt.
Okay, this is going to date me, but I keep thinking of that rap hit from about 10 years ago that's like Gucci, Gucci, Fendi, Fendi, Louis, Louis, Prada.
You know that your brand, it's did you watch House of Gucci? There's another great one, man. Jared Leto, again, with the worst Italian accent. It's like, hey, it's a me, Mario. In a fat suit, no less. But
oh no,
yeah.
guys, we can't be doing fat suits in this day and age.
Well, he's a skinny guy.
Get someone else to
get
play
a fat
the man.
guy. As a fat man, I feel like they're discriminating against us, and they should let people of a certain girth play the chubby roles. Anyway, Gucci, perfect example. By the time you are selling fake clothing in a metaverse, your brand is shot, right? Gucci now, they put their brand on anything, right? It's just shot. And I have to think, this does not reflect well on Balenciaga, Prada, and Tom Brown. Tom Brown also has special Samsung watch styles, if you want. So
I just want to think, like, what was that meeting in between, like, Meta people and Balenciaga or Prada? What was that meeting like? Where they're like, we've got a really great opportunity for you. We want you to brand in the metaverse.
You know what
and
they
they're
said?
like, oh, wow.
You know what they said? They said, money. Dinero.
Give me the money, please.
Give me the money. I mean, honestly, this has got to be, they've got to be looking. I mean, Second Life, for all its dopiness, people made a lot of Linden dollars. I don't know if they ever made money on it, but they made.
I mean, Linden dollars were used to do a lot of money laundering also.
Oh, were
right?
they really?
I mean, hopefully I'm not slandering the Linden good name, but I thought that
it all
happened.
started with Second Life, baby. It all started there.
Yeah, the creators of Second Life got to be kicking themselves. Like, we just had to call it the metaverse.
Why aren't these outfits NFTs? Am I missing something?
Oh, yeah. If you really want to capitalize on it, sure. There are games now with NFTs.
And the best thing is, like, if you buy and sell this stuff, you end up with a massive tax bill at the end of the year.
You've
transaction.
You've got a URL and a massive tax bill. Congratulations. Speaking of games and loot boxes, Diablo Immortal came out on the iPad and the Apple iPhone just 2 weeks ago. It's funny, the reviews were very positive for it. Users hate it because it is really a pay-to-play game. It's free to download, but there is so much stuff that you have to buy. I actually think it's a fun game because I love Diablo, and it's fun to have it on my iPad.
How much have you spent on microtransactions?
I have spent nothing, but I am one of the few because they made in the first 2 weeks $24 million on microtransactions.
Question: if you, I guess, make one of these transactions while playing on your iPad, is that a macro transaction?
I just want to point out that of the $24 million, they only got 16 because Apple gets 8.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know what to say after that. There you go. Nice
Fortnite
work if you can get it. Yeah.
Freaking out.
Yeah, freaking out. All right. I think I'm looking what else. I don't think we care about the nothing phone.
What?
There is a phone.
Who decided that was a good name for a product?
Carl Pei, who was the former head of OnePlus, left OnePlus when Oppo brought it back in house. I think it was an Oppo operation all along, but they brought it back in house, and he left. He bought the assets of Andy Rubin's Essential, which was another failed phone. And he announced we're going to make a phone called Nothing, and we're gonna reveal it July 12th. Except there was, I think, so little interest that they then now leaked the design.
Oh, no.
Because come on, really, guys, it's going to be great.
Wait. It's called the Phone One.
The Phone One
so
by Nothing.
Sad.
They've run out of ideas.
The Essential, the Plus One.
They've run out of ideas. Here it is with its central LED light strip. I don't know what's going on. I don't know
what is that?
What's happening? Light
Do you
strips.
remember? Was it a handspring visor or a Palm Pilot? It was
handspring that had a transparent case.
Yeah.
On
I loved that. Yeah. I have one in the other room. Yeah, those are great.
My wife had one for a while.
Those weren't bad. They were basically pilots, right?
Yeah, that was a good device.
With the visor module. All right. You guys rock. I've kept you here way too long, much longer than you ever thought you'd be, stuck in a square box on the Twit set. But I am a mega corporation, and you are my slaves. Do not unionize. Oh, look at that. There's a little corgi.
God.
Hello, little corgi. He looks so sad. He said, can Daddy come out and play? Well, we're going to let you go. Sam Abul Samad, principal researcher, Guidehouse Insights. You must listen to the Wheel Bearings podcast. Of course, Sam's on our radio show every Sunday talking about car stuff.
The episode coming out tomorrow morning will have my comparison of the Ford F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T, and Nicole will be talking about the Ford Bronco Raptor, and Robbie got to go to the GM Tech Center to drive the new Lunar Rover in the simulator.
Oh, I miss Robbie. Would you tell him that we've been trying to get him on Twit? I want him back on Twit. I just love him. Yeah.
All right.
Talking about pie.
That was last week. Yes.
That was last week.
We had a question from a listener about why Robbie and I never talk about pie. Nicole talks about pie a lot.
Nicole Wakeland loves pie. Roberto Baldwin is.
We all love pie. We just
don't talk about it. It's his little personal secret. And by the way,
how often would you describe your conversations about pie? Are you a frequent pie talker or an infrequent?
Me?
Leo.
I would say relatively infrequent.
I would talk about pie, but
prefer to eat it rather than talk about it.
I can't eat it, and I would like to eat it. We have a place.
Are you being shadow banned?
I'm from pie.
Yeah.
We have a place in Petaluma called the Petaluma Pie Company. Pie's all they do. It's pie all day, savory, sweet, nut pies, holiday pies. We'll even ship you pies. So that's more pie content than we've had on this show since March 14th. Thank you, Sam. And by the way, Sam's comparison of the Rivian and the F-150 Lightning will also be part of our tech break. He sent us a great review. We're editing it right now. We'll put it out probably this week. So thank you for that. I appreciate it, Sam.
My pleasure.
Paris Martineau is our resident Brooklyn hipster. She is awesome in every respect, has a ring that lets her in places. She also, from time to time, reports at the information about big tech. Anything you want to plug, Paris? Anything at all?
I think I'm going to plug same thing I did last time, which is my Signal number. If you're an employee at Amazon or current, former, thinking about it, reach out to me. We can chat. This worked quite well last time, so I'd love for any of you to join the fold.
Really?
Yeah.
You got last time you got some tips?
It was a nice time. Love to see it. You can contact me on Signal, WhatsApp, SMS at 267-797-8655. 267-797-8655.
8655.
It's also on my Twitter handle. If you look it up.
Or go to @ParisMartineau on the Twitter, and you can get her phone number.
Yeah, the Twitter is where I'm at.
Yeah, that's not her phone number, gentlemen.
It is not my phone number. It's a work number.
Do not call her. Signal her.
Only call me if you want to talk about hot tips.
Hot? Don't use the word hot.
Not hot. Yeah.
Good tips.
Tepid tips.
Yeah.
Good tips.
If you want to call her number is 867-5309. You can call anytime. There it is. We just put it on the lower third. So
wow.
Next time you're on, we just have to put that there the whole time. So tipsters.
Honestly, love it.
Get those tipsters. That's great. Thank you, Paris. You rock and you roll. And I know you have a sequin mannequin there, but I'm not going to make you show it this time.
Thank you. We can just keep that between us.
It's just our little secret. Owen. Haven't seen you in person since pre-pandemic. Maybe someday we can go down to the Golden Gate Theater on beautiful Market Street, dodge the bums, and see a show. What do you say?
I am always down for a musical.
Me too. Senior editor at Protocol, Owen Thomas, at Owen Thomas. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Give my regards to Megan Maroney.
I will.
We've had some other people on from Protocol. Who else do we have on? She was great. I can't remember. But Protocol, you got some great people working over there. It's good stuff.
Yeah, we had some good scoops from Issy Lepowski and Anna Kramer, Yanko Rutgers.
Nice.
They've been crushing.
Oh, I was good. Actually, I had a Yanko story I was going to talk about, but we've run out of time. I'll save that for next time. He's doing a great job. I'm glad you hired him away from Variety. He was at Giga-Ohm before that. Great guy.
There's an ex-Giga-Ohm mafia at Protocol.
Well, that's a good place to light, I think, actually. We do Twit every Sunday around 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, 21:30 UTC. I mention that because you can watch us live. There's a live video stream of everything we do here, video or audio, at live.twit.tv. If you're watching live, please join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. But be warned, if you say something funny, I'm going to steal it, because basically those are my joke writers in there. irc.twit.tv, and I may or may not credit you. We also have a chat room for our club members in our Discord. If you're not a member, $7 a month, ad-free versions of all of our shows, access to the Discord, the Twit Plus feed, special shows. We just did, you saw a little bit of Stacy's Book Club, which we just did on Thursday. That was a lot of fun. That was for members only. $7 a month, go to twit.tv/clubtwit. But of course, we still offer ad-supported versions of everything we do free at our website, twit.tv. There's also, for every show, a dedicated YouTube channel. That's a good way to share clips from shows, because YouTube makes that easy. And of course, the best thing to do would be subscribe. Your favorite podcast player undoubtedly has a copy of this, the longest-running tech podcast in the world. Now, in its 18th year, I don't know how that's possible, but it's the case. Subscribe and you'll get it automatically the minute it's available. And if you can, if that podcast player you're using has a review function, leave us a 5-star review, because after 18 years, a lot of people have forgotten we're even here. John, I see you pulling over the microphone. Do you need to say anything? No? All right. John Slanina, our technical director. We thank Jason Howell, our producer. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.